everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to the start of another week. It's Monday. It's hard to believe it's been about a year since we've done one of these ATC courses. I mean, right, I haven't aged today. I'm a little older, I'm a little bit wiser, you know. But we're there, doing a thing, as tonight we start our newest ATC course. Newest, I said it right. I didn't say it. No. New, it's all new. And tonight, friends, yes, we're going to be figuring out how to fly in the United States. Hello there. As, well, we started off 2 years ago with our VFR course. Last year saw our IFR course, and these were kind of heavily focused on ICAO procedures. You see, flying in Europe, in Ireland, and all this sort of jazz. Well, this time round, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be learning a conversion, a transition, if you will, how we fly in America. You know, without ATC given out to us, or just certain things you can brag to your mates when you're at the pub, or, you know, out and about in the real world. Right, you'll be able to tell them things they won't have a clue about. Brilliant. So it all starts tonight. We're going to be working along with the Boston Virtual, the ARTCC. Basically, we're following their WINGS program, designed specifically to bring new folks into the world of online ATC when it comes to their flight simulation. And they have an entire course laid out, some 30 flights. Introduction with VFR, then it goes into IFR, some kind of fairly standard stuff, and it goes quite advanced as well. Now, we're not going to do each and every flight on a live stream. That'll take us 30 weeks. And I'm sure you'll be going, jeez, would you ever just, you know, do something else? But the good news is it gives us time in our own time to progress as much as you like, or just kind of roll with 1 or 2 flights per week to see how this all kind of shapes up. You see? So, tonight, anyway, the what we're doing, well, we're going to have a look at the VFR procedures whilst flying under the Federal Aviation Authority's rules, the FAA rules. And there's an absolute ton of online materials to help us out, all different information. I mean, we got to figure out the airspace, we got to figure out practical flying skills, right? But we also need to hone in on the voice procedure, the radio telephony. How do you talk and say things and not sound like an idiot? This sort of thing, right? And well, tonight we're going to start off nice and easy, something we should be, or maybe for the first time, it's going to be the pattern, circuits, the traffic pattern, or as you know, we call them over here, circuits, right? The traffic circuit. Effectively, what this is, it's an imaginary route. Think of a rectangle type shape that goes over an airport, right? And we have to follow this particular route, right? Of pictures and all that. Don't worry, lads, there'll be pictures, right? I promise you there'll be pictures. But anyway, we follow this route, and this is, just as it is in the real world, this is pretty much the start of your flying kind of adventure, right? Pattern work. And anyone who's done real world flying, if you've done your PPL, or you're starting a PPL, pattern work, right? They pretty much hold you there until you figure it out and you get good at it. So with flight sim, there's massive advantages to this because we can learn everything we're supposed to as we would in the real world. The only thing we're going to miss is the actual behavior of the aeroplane. And what I mean by that is most airplanes fly very different to each other. And I mean, the same airplane could fly very, very different. I know from my own experience, flying in 3 different types of a Cessna 172, they all behave a little bit differently. So that's kind of where the real world stuff absolutely has its advantage. But in a flight sim, we can do all of these things. We can learn the procedures. We can, do the map reading. We can figure out the weather, figure out what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, more importantly, when we're going to say it, and also understand what's going to be said to us. If you're brand new to all of this, there's a bit of a learning curve. I'm not going to lie, there's a bit there, but don't be afraid of it. This time round, we're utilizing the power, of course, of VATSIM when it's available. But when it's not available, we can utilize SayIntentions, and it's a little bit different than what we did last year. Last year we had Gibbo and Rambog provide outstanding ATC for us, and this time it's a little bit different, purely from, well, a lot of work went into that kind of last time around, and well, I know boat lads are busy, plus because we're flying over this side of the woods, well, we all need to learn. So we're all learning together. Not for a second, despite my best intentions, I don't know it all. There will be mistakes, I'm sure of it. And if you guys find any mistakes, do let me know. We can go back and fix them. But this is all about us as a community helping out each other. It's, anyone can sit there and, they can read through all the manuals. They can do a ground school. They can go off and get their pilot license. But for the most of us, we're very much happy out when we're at our flight sim, be it on, weekday nights or on the weekends. We just want to kind of hang out and have some fun. This whole course is showing us another element of how we can expand and enhance our flight simulation hobby, because when we start following the real world procedures, it's a game changer, and it can be an awful lot of fun, especially when you're dealing with online networks, because you're adding in so much realism, because you're now dealing with real people, and it definitely will raise some eyebrows. You might pull out some hair, and you'll definitely run out of things to write on, but I can promise you it's going to be a lot of fun. So I've just finished the ground school document. It's now available over on the website. We're going to be checking that out. A massive thanks to everyone for all the help. The Limbix was the editor. He went through it with a fine-tooth comb and spotted all me failures. And right, but listen, we'll start the ball rolling and see how we go. The plan tonight, we're going to be looking at the WINGS VFR 1 flight, which is traffic pattern, right? And we're using the airport as per the WINGS course. It's Nantucket. Yes, that's right. Kilo Alpha Kilo Alpha Charlie Kilo. Or KACK. Right? We're going to be flying there. Now, a huge advantage, as you might see from the screen behind me or beside me. When you want to do real world flying in the real world, well, a number of things have to be taken into consideration. Your own life schedule, but also, there's a cost, and you have weather. And then there's other factors you have to consider. Do I have an instructor? Is the aircraft available? No, maybe it has to go to maintenance. Is the airfield getting any maintenance done? There's a whole load of real world potential showstoppers. We don't have these headaches in the sim, and that's why we can really move this fairly fast, or at a pace that suits us. If we're not quite happy in a certain area, keep redoing that flight. In the real world, that's quite an expensive thing to do. So these are all our advantages. So yes, we'll try not to get too worried. There's a little bit of seriousness, but it's all in good spirit as well. The objective, to try and learn something new. We've learned so much over the last 2 years. Let's see what, dust off the old noggins there now and sure, listen, see what's stuck as we try and apply all the skills and the knowledge base that we've picked up over the last 2 years, bringing it here to our newest course, right? It's all free. The whole thing is free. So just we'll try and enjoy it. And let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. It'll be grand, lads. Sure, listen, if this agent can half do with something, you're going to be grand. Going to be grand. But anyway, before we get started, it is time for the 11-second intro. 11 seconds. Brilliant. Airlock Doc is here. Last day of March mayhem. Can Murph survive until Fool's Day? The day invented by the Irish to celebrate Murphy himself. Let's find out. Airlock Doc, it's good to see you. Jesus, could you imagine? Where's this now? We're going to die. It's grand. Be fine, right? We won't get too worried. Vacuum is here. Good to see you. Photos by Kev. Tier 1 for 17 months. Thank you very, very much indeed. Great to see you, Kev. How's the old knee, man? Hope you're feeling good. Heisenberg, welcome aboard. Naughty Gnome is here. Welcome in, my guy. And Rad Baron. Let's see if the April Fool shows up again. Wait, what? CP65, good evening. Spitfire RAF 100 is here in the chat. Belbro, good to see you. Heisenberg says, Murph, you need to keep the wife away from your streams. On our anniversary, she asked me for a refund. Brilliant. Super Typhon, good evening. Commander Balosh, welcome in. Viper Strike is here. Commander Balosh, 3 streams in a row, man. Thank you very, very much indeed. Shuffle Shoes shuffles in. AJH John, happy Monday. Sir Campsalot, welcome, AJH man. Schutz is here, good evening. I want my hour back. Oh, Jesus. They changed time, just when we were getting used to it being on Zulu time, they changed it to keep us busy. Also, your thoughts, friends. I'm in the considerations of an Apple Watch. Good idea, bad idea. They're very expensive, but I'm in, I got this. Well, I say it's a smartwatch. It's smart so far as, well, it can tell the time better than me. That's about it. And I got it good and cheap on the internet. And the whole idea was, listen, if I can manage having some sort of a smartwatch without breaking it, well, then that will pave the way to perhaps looking one day at getting an Apple Watch, you see. And the reason why I'm saying Apple Watch, I use an iPhone. Right, I used to be the other guy. I was Android all the way. But then I went into the owl, I watched Jobs or something. But anyway, your thoughts, friends. Because again, aviation, but even flight sim, well, the technology and the friggin' amount of stuff we can use to help us out with our flights, be it tablets, smartphones, your computers. There's loads of things now that really do help you along. I've been lucky enough, I'm not that old, but like I know a lot of folks who had, paper charts. They had to use a knee board, a physical knee board, a board on their knee, right? Maps that had all sorts of protractors and extractors and something else I can't pronounce, right? We really don't need half of that stuff. It's good to know, we have to learn it, but in practical use, we rarely use it to this day. It's all digital. And there's a lot of advantages to the whole digital side of the house, do you know? But anyway, I ramble. Wicked Lumberjacks, good to see you. Idle Cutoff says, Cambridge calling. Hello from Tipperary, you're looking well. Creo, good evening. Soaring AJ. AJH, man, you're looking well. Sun Jammer's here. He says, dinner cooked, eaten and dishes washed. Now waiting for Murph. I have arrived. Well, I'm present, omnipresent, both here on Twitch and YouTube. And, welcome in, everybody. Where's this now? Dougal McTavish, the chairman, is exhausted and half dead-brained. Can he absorb and learn? Dougal, I'd say even in your slowest moments, you would outsmart us all. Good to see you, man. And we'll go handy tonight. Anthony V, how are you? Nighthawk is here. Little Trader, good evening. In a Box Man has rambled aboard. Good to see you, my guy. Happy Monday. Proby Pete is here. Glad to be spending my afternoon with you as he calls in from Arizona. Hello from Tipperary. Hope you're keeping very well. Jesus, then, we had a cracker of a day here today. 17 degrees, the sun was shining. I watched the Skoda yesterday. It was glistening. On my way to work this morning, had a low tyre pressure sensor tell me that back left was low. I did what any driver does. I got out of the car and I kicked it. Yeah, looks okay to me. Stay going. And then I put air in it. Right, it's grand. But yes, old veteran, TTM is cleared to Kadal direct. Jesus. Scott, happy Monday to you. Hope you're well. Made it to Memphis, but then the ATC dropped offline. Oh, bother. Petrolhead is here, good evening. Martel, welcome aboard. Petrolhead says,
Ted, come on. You're going a bit mad there.
I'm looking forward to it because I haven't a clue what I'm doing. That makes two of us. Welcome in. You're in good company. How to talk without an American twang. That's the lesson. Tonight we're going to be learning how to fly in the United States. We're going to learn how to speak American, using ATC to sound like we come from this part of the world. Let's go, come here! Look, Janota started watching, and now there's to be no spoilers. Right? We started watching, and you might say, yeah, Murphy, you're a little bit late to the party. Yeah, but shh, listen. We started watching Yellowstone. Oh, Jesus. Brilliant. Now, I'm 4 episodes in, so if you know the outcome, whisht, hold your whisht. It's brilliant. Where was this thing hiding? Muse fan, did you watch Yellowstone? And if you say no, I mean, right, it's just, you've lost all hope. But anyway, nothing wrong with sounding like an Egypt Merv. Some of us do it all the time, says Dougal. Right? Is the camera more shaky, or am I... Rad Baron, shaky camera. Well, if I shake my table, the camera shakes. Because you've seen this setup before, no doubt. But look, it's all connected. Don't look at me head. It's all connected to the table with this. Right. I mean, we've stuff everywhere, lads, but it's all right. It makes it all work in a very fashionable way. Right. Zybok Doc is here, calling from Denmark. Hello from Tipperary. Hope you're well, Zybok. Who else come in? Flying Tonight is here. Sorry I've been missing in action for this course. Work-life balance seriously lurching the wrong way. Well, don't you worry, because all of these videos will be available over on YouTube for your viewing pleasure, or just to show your friends, look at this Egypt, and here's me. Look, see, brilliant. Right, Jesus. Right. So fear not. If you crash, the game won't kill you. Well, that's also very true, CP. Indeed. Wraith Tempest, good evening. Out here in the suburbs is out there in the suburbs. Welcome aboard. Who's this now? Mitsuki. I'm technically on VATSIM, but have been too spooked to really try a flight. Well, that's quite okay. That's what we're here for. It's to build the confidence and get ourselves somewhat comfortable so we can give it a bash. But I can promise you, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's terrifying. You'll sweat. You'll panic. But I'm telling you, once you do it, we're still talking about VATSIM. Once you do it, it's grand, right? Be all right. Be fine. Ozzy Mandy, it's good to see you. There was once a man from Nantucket. Muse, brilliant. Better not give him the punchline, though. Do you know? Jesus, the Dougal song. Do you hear that now, Dougal? Ah, brilliant. Do you know? Wings site says to participate I need to be a member of the Boston Virtual ARTCC, which seems to need an application. Yes, it's fairly straightforward. Jesus. Just follow the instructions, register, and you're good to go. Trust me, do it. It's a great community, lots and lots of people there to help and support you and just give you a general kind of hand as you're moving along throughout the whole syllabus. So highly recommend it. We'll have a quick look here now in a moment. Cyrus T, welcome aboard, man. Happy Monday. Where am I at now? I'm over here, look. Captain Macamus, we're definitely going to die. That's the spirit. Hope you're well, man. Nighthawk says, will the Flight Hunger be... Wait now. Will the Flight Hunger Games be in 2020 or 24? I'm in 24, but you can use 20. Or X-Plane. Toto is here, good to see you. Dead Zone, welcome in. Max Stallion is here. Tima, you're very welcome aboard. Willem FS, welcome in, man. Angry Lou is here. Who else come in the door now? Krabby1, good evening. Apple Watch is a great Adidas little trader. Yes. It's Lynch Boy, good to see it. Good device. However, personally found myself checking my phone most of the time instead of using it. Old Veteran says the Android watch is pretty good and you aren't kept on the Apple infrastructure. Sunjammer has an Apple iWatch and it's very good. Oh, there we go, right? Murph, I'll DM you about the Apple Watch. Oh, Jesus, right. We could be in trouble here then. Where's the iPhone? There's my iPhone right there. Actually, here's one for you. What's your iPhone screensaver? Mine is of the beautiful friggin' cockpit of a Cherokee. And then the other screen, with all my alerts, is that of a Bonanza that I got to sit in. I've been quite lucky to be around planes. Not recently now, years ago, you know. But I do have a lot of pictures of them. Next thing my phone rings. Ultra Kid, good to see you, man. He likes Apple. Tenured, welcome aboard. Where's this now? We're over here, look. Tombs. In my day, we used blackboards and chalk. Brilliant. Until your batteries die and the operating system does not update. Oh, Jesus. Flipper Alloy. Happy Monday to you, my guy. PH Roy, good to see you. Objections is here. I was flying in school during the time the big paper to iPad change hit its peak. No way, man. What was that like? Super Typhon says it's snowing there. Jesus. Fierce Wolf is here, looking fierce and wolfy. Good to see you. Arch NDA, 18 months, my dude. Good to see you, Arch. You were playing something different this evening. Hope you're well, man. 777 is here. You're the Apple man. Unsub immediately. True Trekkies don't use Apple. Very bad move. Kitchen first. Wait, hang on. Whoa, now. Pull up the handbrake. I started off in the world of Android and I, laughed at the peasants of you use Apple, peasant. And then I acquired one, or I found one, came off the back of a truck, and I was, oh, look at this thing, it's very fast, Now, I have realised Android is catching up, but it's still kind of the same. Apple just works, right? It just works. It's like, it doesn't freeze, mine doesn't. It just works. And I like that kind of level of simplicity. Simplicity is the ultimate of sophistication. Now, who said that, lads? Someone important actually said that. Who said that? It was a Roman or something. Gibbo, he'll know. What? Right. You are very late. It's grand. It's an amazing show. An amazing show. Murph, your American accent isn't bad, but it would be better if you just started screeching like an eagle. Listen, I can try American accents. No spoilers, Murph. No, airlock, not even looking at it. The butler did it in the library with the candlestick. No! Oh, Jesus. Landman. Well, come here. You have Yellowstone, 1923 and 1883. Right. There's watching here now, lads. Binge watching. I'm looking forward to it. Zybok is on the last season of it. Muse fan says, yeah, I watched it. And at the end, the wake up, it was all a dream. It's a bit like Game of Thrones, you know. Ned wakes up beside Cat. 7 bells or 7 hells, Cat. It was all a dream. Right. But anyway, we're over here. Look, Test Pilot is here. Good to see you. Mac Vision, good evening. Nismo, good to see you, Nismo. One Fly Air, good evening. Krabby One says Yellowstone will... No, we're not reading it. We've just booked a little jolly holiday to Vancouver for next year, then to Banff for a tour to the Rocky Mountaineer train. Kev, that sounds wonderful. Wired Lad is here. Jesus, 9 months, my guy. Thank you very, very much indeed. I hope you're well. Murph, you need to watch the prequel. Yeah. We'll watch them. Yeah. All by Taylor Sheridan. Ooh. Dead Zone says, starting Game of Thrones again now that me and the missus are retired. I got Game of Thrones though, right? Brilliant. Canoehead 2, he says, hello from Vancouver. Welcome to the new Zulu time. We've been waiting for you to catch up. Good evening, Canoehead 2. I hope you're well. Sai120, welcome in. Dakey is here. I have dancing cockroaches as a screensaver. Hi. Jesus. Brilliant. Posted a Chartfox link. Nighthawk, thank you very much indeed. 8 degrees, by the way, says Super Tie. No way. I was playing Inzo. Any good, Arch? I would really like... Where's this now? I would really like a fully modelled native Cherokee in flights in 2024. I think it's on the way. There's buttons being pressed. I think it's on the way, the Cherokee. Just Fly are due to update their fleet. But anyway, Purple Kona is here. Good to see you. Who else come in the door? If Apple did flight sims. Oh, wait. Bellbro says, must have been an Irish that... said that. Must have been an Irish person. Yeah, that works. Landman being filmed here in Fort Worth. Oh, is it? Few other places here too. Oh, nice, man. Nice. Serious Wolf is here. My dude. 20 months. Thank you very, very much indeed. Hope you're well. Haven't seen you in ages. If you liked or played The Sims, you'll enjoy Inzo. Oh, come here. Is that... Yeah, it looks like The Sims. It's like, you know, life simulator. I don't like these shoes. Now I need to eat breakfast. Now I must wash and use the evolutions. Wait, I need a job. What do you mean the grass is growing? Right? Brilliant. We need a -8. We do. That'd be nice. Landman is also a good show. Yeah, I must look into it, lads. Brilliant. Now, we're over here, look, over to YouTube. Welcome in, everybody. Northland Air is here. Black Sheep Jean, good evening. It's still just 12 noon. Jesus. Uniform Goose. Welcome in, Goose. He says, I thought we were starting at 1900 Zulu. We did. We had 1900 Zulu, yes. Have I got it wrong? What time is it? It's 1900 Zulu. I have a Zulu clock over there. It's 19 Zulu and 20 past. Wait, what? That's how to tell time. Sound out, Murphy. Who else come in the door here? Dave Cleary is here. Legend Dave. Welcome in, Dave. Alan Black, good evening. Mrs. TBHI, welcome aboard. Angels15 is here. Johnny Shue, good evening. Visualize, welcome aboard. Steve Chalmers is here. He says, afternoon all from Chicago. Hello from Tipperary. You're looking well. Irish craft beer guy, Alan Mead, good evening. Talro is there as well. Hope you're keeping very well. Who else now? Leonardo Da Vinci, happy Monday. Monty is here. Jane says, buy the Apple Watch, you won't be sorry. Ooh, nice. Now, King Bob's Kingdom, Garmin Epics. Ooh, oh, they're fan. They have the GPS built into them, don't they? King Bob. Mr. Anderson, how are you? Who else come in the door here now? Captain Mustard. Good evening. Who else? Daniel Meyer, welcome in. Stevie B, he says, welcome from a windy Tenerife. Hello from a calm and somewhat cloudy Tipperary. Do you know, right, it's got very big AI presence in it. Ooh, nice. The character editor is crazy. Jesus. Yeah, last few weeks have been silly, meeting heavy. Good to see you. Welcome in, Serious Wolf. What's next? Murph ditching his PC and buying a Mac. Only option would be X-Plane. Well, I mean, you know, you can do the online thingamabob with Flight Sim. But yeah, no, it's I'm happy with PC for Windows for PC stuff. Just when it came to phone, I prefer the iPhone. And I have an iPad. I have a pad to go with the phone. Look at the dust on that. Right, and I even have a fancy pencil that I can use. Very, very, very sophisticated equipment here now, lads. Right, we're going to turn off this light because we're going to go over to another screen. Are you ready? Let's see what happens here, look. That looks right. Right, come hither, microphone, and we'll have a look to see what's happening. There's a fair bit of stuff now, lads, to get into. We've a fair bit of stuff, but we'll take our time. and kind of see where the night goes, right? Now, those buttons pressed over on this screen, hang on, we'll catch up with what's actually happening in the world of a live stream. Mrs. TPHI, 10 months. Thank you very, very much indeed. Very kind of you for the resubbed membership over on YouTube, and insane support. Thank you very, very much. Right, so as you can see, well, the weather, live weather at the moment at Nantucket, well, it's pants, not very VFR friendly. The good news, because we're in a flight simulator, we can change the weather. Now, if we want to fly this online on VATSIM, you can absolutely change the weather. I mean, you can go daytime or nighttime. Doesn't really matter. My only tip would be just make sure you're using similar wind conditions, because the wind will usually dictate what runway is active, right? So, well, to do that, friends, well, we've a couple of things we can do. We need to get the METAR, right? Or the ATIS. What's the weather actually doing here? We have a couple of ways of doing that. We can get it from the sim itself. We can get it from Navigraph. We can get it from SkyVector. You can get it from a lot of different things. So we'll start off with Navigraph. Where did that go? From hither. So here's Navigraph. If we zoom in here on Nantucket, I'm going to open up the facility. Get in there now, you good thing. And why doesn't it want to work? KACK. KACK. In you go, and let's open up the airport, and from here we're going to check out the weather. So we can see it's IFR conditions. Winds are 190.23. It's windy. Visibility is absolutely shot. It's misty conditions. It's just not a good idea. But when in flight sim, we can fix all that. So winds, we need to get these somewhat right. 190 at 23. Well, we won't go as strong as 23, but let's go into the weather. Let's give it a few clouds, right? Not clear skies, because that's boring. And then we're going to go down to the wind. So we've got to give it 190, which is down here. Or we can just type it in, I think. 190 and give it friggin' 5 knots. Why the devil not? And that'll do us. Another thing we can do is also get the barometric pressure, right? So if we close off the wind here, and we want to get the pressure, right? So you can see the mean sea level pressure. So let's go back under here. The altimeter, right? It's 2977. And we're going to be sticking now to inches of mercury. So it's 29.77, right? So let's have a look at this. 2977. So 2977. And that'll do us. Lovely. And that's it. That's me weather set. And we can fly with this. Isn't that wonderful? The stuff we can do with a modern flight sim. Now, the airport I'm using, lads, this is, would you believe it, a payware version of Nantucket, and it's available from the InSim marketplace. There is a freeware one, but it's not working terribly well in Flight Sim 2024. This one, I forget the name of the developer, but it's there in the marketplace. It's about $20. It's a little bit dear. Maybe wait for a sale. I'm using it because, well, I need to know this airport, so that's why I'm using it. But the stock scenery should be just fine. Should be just fine. All right. And well, again, it's one of the secrets. Well, you got to figure out where things are, because when ATC start talking to you, you know, taxi this way, taxi that way, or if they give you some visual reference points, you need to have an idea. You need to have an idea, right? So anyway, to start at the beginning, right? Yeah, a couple of flattened planes, even in the payware stuff, right? But anyway, we're going to start at the beginning, and well, this just has a lesson plan. I even did a lesson plan. So what we're doing. The flight location is here, of course, at Nantucket Memorial Airport, Kilo Alpha Charlie Kilo, and we're going to be looking at the VFR Phase 1 part of this course. The WINGS flight reference is the VFR flight number 1, which is the traffic pattern, and the tools for this is going to be a mix of Navigraph, SkyVector, SayIntentions, and possibly VATSIM if we do have some controllers online. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a brief overview of the course, friends, of the course. So I invite you, if you are new here, ramble on over to our website, twotonemurphy.com. And when you're on this website, you register. It's free to register. And come on over here to the Learn ATC series. We have the IFR and the VFR courses from 2023 and 2024. All the videos, all the stuff is there. Gibbo did tremendous work putting all these into proper categories. Beautiful thumbnails for all our videos. I've completely butchered it because I've just done this one single thumbnail, but we'll add to this kind of later on. Anyway, click on this one, the FAA Conversion Course. That's the one we're doing. And in here, it'll direct you to the ground school document, right? If you have any issues accessing this PDF, try it with a different browser, maybe Edge, Chrome, or Firefox, or whatever you think yourself, right? And let's see what happens. So Virtual ATC Ground School. This is our little book that we're going to be following. Now, this is for free. Anyone who wants a printable version, it's available over on our Discord. You can grab it there. But this is the meat and veg of what we're doing. Now, this is 271 pages of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in this. You don't need to worry about half of the stuff in this at the moment. Maybe just have a quick glance over it because it does cover a lot. How to use the document, why do you want to fly online, what are the online networks, how do you get connected, what are your sim settings, your sound settings, model matching, and then, you know, it goes into the
Can
aviation.
I get a refund?
Shag off, there's no refunds. Then we get into the whole, everything, what it is. Tonight, we need to be looking at charts and then airspace. They're the main things we got to figure out tonight. Because when we go flying, there are no road signs up there. We've no idea where we're flying because, well, you're flying, right? Also, when it comes to the traffic pattern that every pilot needs to know and fully understand, think of traffic. When we talk about traffic, we're thinking about cars moving. And how do we control traffic? Well, we have traffic lights, we have roundabouts, we have junctions, we've all this sort of stuff. We don't have those options in the air because, well, you know, we can't really stop, can we? I mean, helos, they're a different kettle of fish. But ultimately, we can't stop. We can only slow down or we can push ourselves, you know, out, extend or retract. Anyway, that's the traffic pattern. So we need to figure out how it works, right? When it comes to our airspace, this is what it is we need to learn. There are different classes of airspace. And to put it in the most simplistic ways, right? The smaller the letter, as in, you know, to the left-hand side of the alphabet, A being the smallest, or if you like, yes, that's your starting point. A for alpha. That is the most restricted airspace when it comes to VFR. And that starts at flight level 180 or 18,000 feet. It goes all the way up to about 60,000 feet. VFR traffic, we're not allowed in there. It's pretty much for your commercial traffic. All the tube liners, well, that's what they're going to hang about. Then you have different classes of airspace beneath that, right? The main two we're going to look at is going to be Class B or Class Bravo and Class C, Class Charlie. These different, you know, there's a difference between what we have in Europe versus America. There are some differences, not a whole lot. To understand how the airspace structure works, think of it as an upside down wedding cake. Yes, that's right. And that's what the FAA tell us. An upside down wedding cake, right? So how we understand it is Class Bravo and Class Charlie. Then you go to Class Delta, then you have Echo, then you have, right? The whole idea is if you're at A, that's the busiest. B, not as busy. C, not as busy as B. D, not too bad, and so on, right? So the further down the letters we get, the less busy the airspace is, or at least that's the idea behind it. And if you notice, when I said about an upside down wedding cake, the idea here being, lads, is the closer you are and the lower you are, the less restricted, or, you know, that area gets smaller and smaller, allowing you to encroach. However, the higher you get up, the further back you need to get. Think about it. Aircraft taking off and landing, right? They climb, they're changing altitude, and as they do, their speed picks up. They need much more space to be able to handle all that traffic. Yeah. So that's the idea, right? That's the idea. So this is all in the manual. It explains what the whole thing is, and then we go into detail what all the different classes are, right? So you have the 6 classes of airspace in the US, and these are all, well, these are clickable links. You can click on these and see. Anyway, as I said, Class A, 18,000 up to flight level 600. All right. Class B, then we have C, D, E. It's all there. You get an idea of what the story is. All right. Class A airspace is from 18,000 up to 60, and it includes airspace overlying the waters within 12 nautical miles off the coast for all states except for Hawaii. As VFR aircraft, we're just not going to go next or near that sort of altitude, so we don't need to worry about it. What we do need to be very careful, we could enter Class Bravo, we could enter Class Charlie. And there's very specific rules we need to be aware of before we even go into those areas. Class Delta, not as much, but a bit, right? So that's what we mean when we say class. What type of airspace or class of airspace, all right? Don't get too bogged down on it. Again, when we look at our charts, we're going to be able to say, look, that's one of them fellas. Yeah, we can't go into one of those, all right? So there's a couple of notes here, flight rules and what equipment is needed. two-way radio communication along with a Mode C transponder with ADS-B. Again, this is pretty much from the FAA handbook. When it comes to flight sim, two-way radio communication to us, we need to be able to talk and listen to ATC. All right. Mode C transponder, we need to be on our transponder and we're squawking a particular identifier. That's what we know what the story is there. All right. And then ADS-B, we don't need to worry about that because, well, once you're connected to VATSIM, that'll look after your ADS-B. It'll put it in Mode C. Mode C. So you're transmitting and there's information, your speed, your altitude, all this sort of stuff. All right. So we have Class B airspace. It's typically the airspace around very busy, large airports, such as the likes of Miami or O'Hare. And it's depicted in the sectional chart by a heavy blue border. And there's various tops and bottoms of the shelves which depict, the range, if you like, and they all have different blue numbering. An example of the Class Bravo airspace vertical boundaries, have a look at Miami International. All right. So here's Miami International. And you can see from here, see the way you have all these red numbers floated all over the chart? Well, they've been enhanced so you can see them. See here, you have this 70-30. In here, you have this 70-15. Yeah. So we're saying, right, well, the 70-15, it means anything below 1,500 feet, you're actually not in the airspace. Think of the wedding cake. You're no longer in that airspace once you're below 1,500 feet. And if you go above 7,000 feet, well, you're no longer in it. It's only the airspace that lives at this range from the airport. If you're between 1,500 and 7,000, you're in its airspace. If you're above it or below it, you're not in its airspace. But again, as you move closer or you move further away, those altitudes will change. If we have a look down here towards the south, we have a 50-70. See this? 50-70. So if we wanted to fly in this teeny tiny little area here, it's probably 2 or 3 miles, right, in diameter. Well, we could actually stay clear of this airspace provided we stay below 5,000 feet or we stay above 7,000 feet. Make sense? All right. And then you get the idea, right? It's an example of the vertical boundaries, and these are important to know. All right. Anyway, the height of the Class B or Bravo varies by airport, but it's generally from the surface to 7,000 to 12,500 feet. Now, MSL means mean sea level. If you're unsure with AGL or MSL, again, in this document, click on contents. You can come down here to the abbreviations, and then you'll find it. Isn't that very handy the way we did that, lads? Do I have AGL in it? Right, don't worry about that now. I'll add that in, right? We have MSL. Brilliant. But you get the idea, right? You get the idea. Anyway, come back up here. We're talking about friggin' airspace, right? Where's my contents? And we'll go back to here when we have the airspace. All right. So that was an introduction to Class Bravo. And then the rules. Minimum requirements to enter would be a PPL. That's real world. Or it could be a sport license with a Class Bravo endorsement. We need to have two-way communication and positive clearance. What they mean by clearance is we need to speak to ATC before we enter that area. Simple as that. Two-way radio communication. We need to ask to go into that area. You can't just ramble into it. You know, wars have been started for less. You can't go into these type of airspaces without establishing radio communication and asking for permission or clearance. You want to be cleared into that. All right? Anyway, the speed limit. And these are a little bit different in the US than what we had in Europe. But again, don't worry too much on this. As a kind of general rule of thumb, we usually know the crack here, lads. Speed restrictions below 10,000 feet. They're pretty much the same, the very same in the United States. Stay below 250 knots, below 10,000. That's usually the crack. Now, ATC might give you an unrestricted climb. Happy days. But once you get to that deck of 10,000 or lower, do not go above 250 knots. Now, the traffic pattern is different. You're going to have different speeds. But again, 250 to 200 knots, that's considered, well, you're on the faster side of the house. When we're starting off, we're going to be an aircraft that can't even achieve that speed. We don't need to worry about it just yet. But just be aware, in these airspaces, Bravo, Charlie, all these, we stay below 250 knots because the upper limit in a Class Bravo is 250 knots. Right? Right. A mode C transponder with ADS-B out, that's going to be an automatic thing, but it basically means that you are connected to VATSIM and your transponder is doing the gadget. Yeah, that's all you need to worry about. Cloud clearance and visibility requirements. As VFR pilots, because we're visual flight rules, because 90% of our time is actually spent with our eyes looking outside the aircraft, we have to have certain minimum distances from the clouds. It makes total sense. If we fly into the clouds, sure, we can see nothing. Nothing. Ah, Jesus, I'm lost. It's no good to anyone. So we must make sure that the weather is favourable for VFR conditions. Again, in the real world, what Mother Nature gives us, we're stuck with it. In a flight sim, we can play, you know, Zeus and change the weather if we like. Again, though, if you're on VATSIM, I just recommend you keep the baro and the wind as accurate as you can. Now, if it's gusting 70 knots, and you don't want to fly in 70 knots, well, that's grand. You can cool it down. But just be aware of it. Just be aware of it. All right? And that goes the same with your ground clearance as well. So if you're going above a certain, you know, if there's clouds 1,000 feet, but you're 500 feet away, but then now they're blocking your vision of the ground, that's an issue. And we talk about weather minimum. We're going to cover all of that in this course. There's tons of information on how you're able to kind of, you know, become a weatherman, sort of, right? Or weather person. Keep it PC, Murph. Did you see what it... Keep it Apple. Anyway, pilots operating under VFR in a Class Bravo airspace must have 3... is it, Scott, I keep saying statute miles. Is a square mile visibility. What's SM in the States? Is a square or statute? But anyway, 3 miles. 3 miles visibility to be clear of the clouds and have a ceiling of about 1,000 feet. It's statute miles, all right? Okay. What about Class C? Well, Class Charlie is the type of airspace class that surrounds other large airports, but those that would have less passenger capacity. It's represented by a heavy magenta border, different colour, and the tops and bottoms of the shelves are depicted with magenta numbering. So you can see here, right? Look, this is magenta colouring. That's Class Charlie. And the numbers are kind of this magenta. It's a fancy way of saying wine, right? But we can't all be thinking a drink. That's only the Irish. Magenta is kind of a wine colour. The Class Bravo is kind of a blue colour, all right? But don't worry about too much of this yet, because they also say on the charts the type of class the airspace is. If you look closely here, it says Miami Class B. Sure, that's a Bravo. Down here, it'll say, you know, where is this now? Atlantic City Class C. So, right, and again, you can see where the shelves are the upside down wedding cake, the inner line being at the very, very bottom, or one closest to the airport, and as you go higher, it extends out. Therefore, if we apply the logic of the upside down cake, if here's the airport, yeah, and we're flying over this region here, or this region here, well, we don't need to worry unless we fly inside that zone at a certain altitude. But you can see what I mean. If you're flying over here, well, you're outside of that upside down wedding cake. Therefore, you're no longer in the airspace. You're sound. You're sound. All right? Anyway, I digress. Here is our Bravo. Here is our Charlie. Boundaries of the Class Charlie airspace that we can see here, and the airspace typically from the surface up to 4,000 feet. Again, you don't have the same restrictions. It is structured quite similar to the Bravo airspace in that it has a 5 nautical mile radius from the surface to 1,200 feet, and then a 10 nautical mile radius from 1,200 to 14 or to 4,000 feet. So basically, it's a smaller cake over the airport. Grand. Again, don't get too bogged down on this, lads. It's not here to confuse you. It's just to give you a rough idea. Okay, well, that's what they mean. It's an upside-down cake. If I'm very close to the airport, it's going to be very strict. As I kind of move away from the airport, I just need to be careful because its shelf extends out further the higher I go until I leave that airspace. That makes sense? Right, moving on. Class Delta or Class D airspace. Now, the D airspace or Delta, well, it's normally around smaller airports with an operational control tower, and it typically extends from the surface up to about 2,500 feet with a radius of about 4 nautical miles.
Dreamy, sleepy, nighty, snoozy, snooze.
Hello, Mutley. It's depicted on the sectional chart by a dashed blue line. So it's a dashed blue line. It's not the heavy blue line that we saw in Class Bravo. It's not the heavy magenta line we saw with Charlie. This is a dashed blue line. Okay. There's a lot of Class Delta airports in the United States, so this we're going to hone in on. It's depicted on the sectional chart, as we say, and the top of the airspace depicted with the small blue letters within a box. The altitude depicted is mean sea level. There are sometimes airspace extensions to allow for instrument procedures, and those extensions may be Class Delta or Class Echo airspace. It'll tell you on it. It'll show you on it. Additionally, many Class D airports switch to Class E or G when the control tower is no longer operated. Okay, so we know that we can have controlled or uncontrolled towers. When might an airfield become uncontrolled? Has anyone seen that? And if someone logs off VATSIM, sure, but what about the real world? When might an airport say, okay, well, the tower is closed for today, so we're now a non-towered airport? What happens then? Do you know? What about going over the Atlantic? Well, look after that. When it's Miller time, exactly. When the shift has finished, they're gone home, they're having their barbecue, or they're living life. The airport airspace, technically the ATC closes down and it becomes a non-towered airport. You can still fly in and out of a non-towered airport, but just being aware now, you're on Unicom or you're on CTAF or whatever, you're just not dealing with ATC. So there's slightly different rules that apply when it's a towered airport. A towered airport, a lot of the time, is easier because, well, ATC will interact with you. If it's untowered, well, there's more workload on us, the pilots, because we need to communicate and be more vigilant of what's going around and what's happening around us. All right? But again, let's not worry too much. The flight rules for a Class Delta or D. We must have two-way radio communication is required to enter it. But like Class C, a specified clearance is not required. A specified clearance, permission to enter the Delta, don't need to ask that, but you must be talking to them prior to it. So don't enter there unless you've established two-way radio. And two-way radio is not established by tuning into their ATIS information, for example, right? We need to make contact with them. All right. Pilots with any type of ratings may operate within a Class D airspace. A transponder is not required. For VATSIM, we're not going to worry about that. We're always going to be using a transponder. It's built into the vPilot app. All right? Okay. Cloud clearance. Again, there are weather minimums there. They're similar to a Class C, 3 statute miles with a ceiling of 1,000 feet in any direction. We also need a clearance of 1,000 feet above and 500 below, and then 2,000 feet horizontally. But again, don't worry too much about the weather just yet. Class E or Echo airspace, it's controlled airspace which isn't A, B, C or D. So it's the other bit of airspace that's controlled that doesn't affect the Alpha, the Bravo, the Charlie or the Delta. It's depicted on the sectional chart in a few different ways. Okay. From the surface, there's a thin dashed magenta line from 700 feet, then a thick shaded magenta line from 1,200 feet, and then we have the shaded cyan kind of a colour here. So it starts at around 700 feet. See this kind of shaded magenta line? So they're letting you know, look, this is Class Echo. Okay. And the shape of it is quite different, yeah? All right. Now, the thin dashed magenta line starts at the surface. In most places within the United States, Class E airspace extends from 1,200 AGL up to, but not including, 18,000 feet. The airspace above that becomes Class Alpha, yeah? And then you might say, well, what happens above, 60,000 feet? Well, that also reverts back to Class Echo, but we don't fly that high. No one goes up that high unless you're like military or you're going to space. And now I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens, right? There's some areas where Class E airspaces begin at either the surface or 700 feet, and these areas are used to transition between terminal and en route environments around non-towered airports. A pure example, or a great example, could be you're at like a very small airport, a general aviation airport, that's right beside a Class Charlie or a Class Bravo. Weston in Dublin, very, very similar to this, right? Beverly Regional up in just in New England, or Massachusetts, it's just north of Boston, very similar to this when you look at Logan. Very similar. It's a small airport right beside the big, massive one. So there's a little bit of boundaries, but again, we'll learn all of it before we do it, right? Flight rules and pilot equipment. No ATC clearance is required for VFR flights inside the Class E airspace. Pilots of all ratings are allowed. An altitude encoding transponder is required if you're going above 10,000 feet, but if transponder is not required, that's not going to make any difference to us. We're flying a VATSIM. And in the traffic pattern of an Echo or Gulf airport, the recommended speed is below 200 knots. Aha! So, traffic pattern. That's ringing a bell because that's what we're doing tonight. In a Class Echo or Gulf airport, recommended, not required, it's recommended, the speed is to be kept below 200 knots. All right. And then we go into the cloud clearance and visibility requirements. Again, in a sim, you can kind of bounce away. You don't need to follow this because you're going to set up your sim for the most favorable conditions. Yeah. Class Golf or G airspace, uncontrolled airspace that hasn't been designated to any of the other classes, be it Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, or Echo. It extends from the surface to the base of the overlying Class E airspace. Typically, Class G airspace includes all of the airspace below 14,500 that isn't otherwise designated as the Bravo, Charlie, or Delta. Class G airspace is our happy place. That's where we want to spend a lot of our flights. Once we remain in Class G, we're not worried about bursting through someone else's airspace. We'll have to check it out on the maps, or on your charts. But effectively, Class G, we're grand. Don't need to worry about nothing, right? Now, outside of that, you then have what's called special use airspace. Now, this is a total different kettle of fish. We need to be aware of it. Some of the special use, you can have special VFR, you can have military operation areas, you can have military training areas, you can have all these different special use, basically special airspace, right? And there's a full list of all these different ones here in the manual. I'm not going to bore you by reading them all out to you, but just get yourself familiar with them. A prohibited area, you're not allowed in. It's prohibited. It's not restricted. You're not allowed in. It's prohibited. All right. What about restricted areas? Well, restricted areas, they're prohibited under certain conditions without specific clearance. There are some areas you can go flying in. It could be military airspace, but it's restricted. So you have to ask for permission before you can get in there. All right. Warning areas. Now, a warning area could be, there's fires, there's a military exercise, live firing. They're warning areas. Danger, right? Your military operating areas, this is going to be quite new for a lot of the folks flying from Europe because in America, they have tons of MOAs all over the shop. And it tends to be designated specifically for military operational areas. Some of these could be timed, or you would check the NOTAMs. You would check the notices to air missions. Is this area active? Can I go in there? Am I allowed in there? A lot of the time you can. But you have to be very vigilant. And, common sense, right? If it's a military area, well, the military aren't all flying the lovely little Cessnas we're in. So you have to take that into consideration if it comes to fast jets, large aircraft, you've wake turbulence and all this other stuff to consider. As VFR pilots, it's not a big worry to us. Just be aware of it, especially when you're trying to do your flight planning. If you're planning to fly straight through a military operations area, which is okay if you want to get a look at things, just be aware of it. All right. Then you have alert areas. High volumes of flight training or other activities might be conducted, so they become an alert area. And again, just be aware of it. Then you have controlled firing areas. Then you have, there's all sorts of stuff. We have FAQs gone in here, the difference between the different classes of airspace and the conclusions. All right. Good man, Gibbo. Welcome aboard. Captain Gaiman is here. Welcome aboard. But the two lads who have just entered the chat, both are very knowledgeable when it comes to this stuff. Gibbo, just because he knows everything about everything. But Captain Gaiman, the story behind Captain Gaiman, he went from being, a flight sim pilot to a real world pilot in, what was the time? A year? Like 0 to hero in like shag-all time. Very impressive. So this is his bread and butter. Yeah. Right. So we're going to move on now because we're no longer covering the ICAO stuff. So that was the airspaces. We're going to be learning more and more and more about airspace as we continue on this course because, well, that's where it's all going to be making sense to us. All right. So if we come down here now and we start off with the newest part, Where are we now? 16. So this course starts on, did I press the wrong button? This course starts on page 200 and odd. Where are you now? Scroll up there now, Josephine. There's an awful lot of typing going in there, lads, isn't it? Right, so this course starts on page 189. So just be bearing in mind, there's a lot of stuff before that, right? Where is this now? Daniel Meyer, Merv, how is East versus West between US and EU regulated? We'll get into all of that. We'll learn about all that. That's kind of later on. But rule of thumb is, Jesus, what is a Murph? East, if you're heading east, it's odd, and heading west, it's even. Isn't it? Isn't it? I think that's what it is. I could be wrong. I need to I used to have it written down here on a small bit. If you're going west, Murphy, right? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Remember, Neod Sweven. Yeah, right. So if we're heading east is odd, west is even odder. There you go. So if we're heading east, it's odd. Odd altitudes. 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, right? If we're heading west, the other way, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 800, or 8,000. Bearing in mind, when you're VFR, it's plus 500 feet. That's it. Plus 500 because you're VFR. So if you're heading in a westerly direction, it's going to be 2,500 or 4,500. If you're heading the other way, you know, northeast odd, southwest even. Thank you, thank you. Right, but yes. Anyway, the course outline, we touched on this last week, but just to give you an idea of what we're doing. Introduction to the regs, the differences in airspace, understanding how the IAM and the phraseology works, overview of VATSIM, and you know when they're following the FAA stuff. Technically, the biggest change on VATSIM when it came to the FAA or you know VATSIM US, right? The biggest change recently is around CTAF, and we need to figure out and understand what CTAF is, because if we don't know it, we'll end up on the wrong frequency. Need to be careful there. Anyway, how to transition from European to US flying, and then we're going to be gearing ourselves up when it comes to SayIntentions. We're going to be trying to do the virtual Oshkosh flight, which is coming up in July. All right, so phase one, lads. We've just spoken about the different airspaces, right? Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Golf. Entry requirements for VFR operations. We'll have a quick look. VFR and weather minimums. Again, be aware of it, but it's not terribly important at this stage, right? Epic Fool is here. Good to see you. Flight following and ATC interactions. Now, for this lesson tonight, we don't need to worry about flight following. Flight following is like a radar service, a basic service, right? But in this, it's pretty much our ATC interactions. Flight planning and how we fill out our VFR flight plans. Little bit different, but not much, all right? Understanding the FAA NOTAMs and also the temporary flight restrictions. That's important, all right? Our communications and phraseologies. This is the main thing. This is the meat and veg of this entire course, because the Yanks, yeah, baby, yeah. The Yanks will speak differently than what we're used to. They'll say things slightly different than what we're used to. So we need to understand first, well, what did they mean? We can't be on the radio, you know, can you repeat that, please? I don't know what you said. And, you know, for example, simple things. I've a bit of a cheat sheet here when it comes down to, you know, the ATC phraseology. The same but different, and this will just give you kind of a broad understanding of what this all is, right? So I'll show you here now. Scroll down here now, Murph. So the overview of the airspace, I've broken it down here, lads. Jump to page 209er, right? 209er. Hey, Swap is here, good to see you. Steiny is here, good to see you. Lads, if I forgot anyone, just start shouting, because I want to make sure. I want to say welcome in, because thank you for taking the time for joining us here. Fly Inverted, indeed. So page 209, right? Overview of the airspace. We've just covered that. And here's the little cheat sheet to say, well, look, Class Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Golf. Altitude range, your VFR entry requirements, as in two-way radios. ATC services, do I need it? And then common locations, where do we find it? All right, that makes sense? Right. Here's a better understanding of each of the airspaces, and it explains if you're a VFR pilot, do not go above 17,500 feet. Makes sense. Wait for explicit clearance before entering Bravo airspace. The same crack with Charlie airspace. How does one enter it? How do you enter it? Well, I put in a little note here. For example, if we wanted to enter the Class Charlie airspace at Nashville, it would sound something like this. Nashville approach, Cessna 172 Alpha Bravo, 15 miles west at 3,500. Request VFR entry. Boom. ATC will come back to us. Cessna 172 Alpha Bravo, Nashville approach. Squawk 4732. Class, or enter Class Charlie. And then you'd go off and do your thing. Right. Brilliant. Gun ho, guy. Good to see you. Class Delta, what do we do? You know, tune to the entering a Class Delta. Same crack again. Santa Monica Tower, Cessna 172 Alpha Bravo, 10 miles north, inbound for landing with information Bravo. That sort of stuff. All right. Now, special use areas, we've covered those. Basic VFR entry principles. Pilots operate under see and avoid principles. What do we mean by that? See and avoid. You see something, mainly and usually another aircraft or something in the sky, and you try to avoid it. Those are the very same principles in the FAA pilot handbook. All right. VFR pilots must adhere to ATC entry requirements when flying in the controlled airspaces of Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. Therefore, we need to make sure we're talking before we enter those areas. We need permission for the Bravo, Charlie, and Deltas. All right. No ATC communication really required for the Class E or G, but VATSIM pilots should consider requesting flight following for enhanced situational awareness and, most importantly, because you can, and it's cool, right? Mode C transponder, it looks after that once you're on VATSIM, and cloud clearance, we need to know the weather, right? Now we go specifically again into all the airspace. So much of this course is understanding the airspace. If you have an idea how the airspace works in America, you're laughing, because your flight planning from a VFR perspective suddenly becomes easier. You're going to plan to either fly into these areas where you're going to look to transition or enter, right? Or you're going to plan to fly around the shagging things so you know you're not going to be giving anyone a busy day. This is important, so we need to learn as much as we can of this. So I've broken it down multiple times to see, as the fella said, you shovel enough onto the wall, something will stick, right? So have a read over this. This is a lot of the meat and veg, if you like, all right? Anyway, special considerations, obtain your VFR clearance prior to B, C, D. Use your flight following in E and G, all right? Anyway, VFR weather minimums, it's a nice to know, doesn't really affect us in flight sim, but by all means, you want to take your flying to the next level by going pure realism. You're there on a Saturday morning, sitting beside your simulator, darling, I'm going to go flying today in America. You load into the sim and it's lashing rain. Bother. Right, I'm off to play Grand Theft Auto. Right, you don't need to go down that road. You can change things, right? But it's here if you want to go that road. All right? Grand. Now, more weather minimums, all the jazz, understanding how the cloud clearance works. Have a read over that. Then we get into flight following. We're not going to use that tonight, but basically flight following, it's a radar advisory service. Provided by ATC radar controllers, approach or departure, or even a center can look after it. And it allows VFR pilots to receive traffic advisories, airspace alerts, and even weather updates while remaining outside of controlled airspace. Nice. We'll get into that later on because we will be using that. That's part of the WINGS 2 flight. And it explains how do we say it. Anyway, ATC interactions and phraseologies, page 220. You'll see how it's all scripted like we did back in the day. The blue being ATC, the green being the pilot. So just start having a read of that. Just kind of get used to how they're saying things, right? Now, where's this thing? Keep scrolling down because I'm looking for a part that says the same or different, right? It's down here a little bit. Let's see now. Let's see. Visual approach, airport stuff, more airport stuff, transition routes. We'll learn all about this later on. Again, as we follow the WINGS course, this is where we learn all of this. Then we get into NOTAMs and how do we understand them. Then we talk about TFRs, traffic restrictions. We're going to have a look at those now in a moment. How do we obtain our ATIS and making first contact? And you can see, again, it's scripted. This is what you say. This is how you say it. Yeah. So you can see here, you know, Seattle clearance, Skyhawk 172 Alpha Bravo at Signature Aviation. VFR to Portland 4,500 with information Bravo. All right, that's how we speak. All right, where is this now? Jesus, there's some writing in this, isn't there? Where is it now? Operating towers, keep her going, keep her going, keep her going. I could just do Control and F. Control F, the same, but different. Oh wait, balls, why isn't she finding that? Keep going, constantly fly following. Easy now, easy now. Sequencing, grand. It's like a cheat sheet I did. Where is it now? Dude, where the feck did I put it? It's back up here. Go to the contents, Murph, that'll help you. Transponder usage. Here's a guy who didn't read through the yoke. I did! Where is it now? Tower differences for VATSIM pilots. Taxi procedures. That's grand. That's grand. Jesus, then where did I hide it? Differences between ground control and clearance delivery. Now we know that story. Hang on now, we'll find it here now. Jesus, did I take? I don't think I took it out. VFR fly following airspace. Pattern entry for VATSIM. Self-announced procedures. Unicom. What is ATIS? Now we did that. Flight restrictions. Understanding. Non-towered, that's grand. Fly following, airspace structure. There we go. Key differences. How to transition. The key differences. Right, let me circle back to that in a while because I can't find where I have that page. But it was basically some of the things that we say in Europe, right? Versus maybe I took it out. It's basically the key differences that we have, that we say in Europe that are different in the US. And I'll give you some examples, right? So in Europe, for example, if we're giving barometric pressure, we're going to say, you know, it's 1007 hectopascals. But we don't use hectopascals, number one. We use inches of mercury. So we'll say altimeter is 2992, right? It's under differences in terminology. Path versus sidewalk, pram versus buggy. Exactly. It's the same sort of crack. So also some of the different phrases in America, they'll use, say, for example, your call sign is Shamrock 235 Alpha Bravo, right? We would say Shamrock 235 Alpha Bravo in Europe. In America, they could quite say, well, Shamrock 235 Alpha Bravo. Runway 1 in Europe is runway 01. In America, runway 1. All right. Runway 5. All right. Over here, we use 09er, 06, 04, whatever. We put the 0 in front of it. The Americans don't. They sometimes do it, but a lot of the time they don't. We also have to state when we're talking about altitude below a certain transition or flight level, we must refer to it as feet. In America, they don't. They'll just say, you know, climb 4,500, climb 8,500. Yeah. One of the biggest changes comes to the transition level. In Europe, it varies from airport to airport. In America, anything below 18,000 feet or flight level 180, that's when you have to mess around with your altimeter. Anything above 18,000 feet or flight level 180, that is when you hit standard baro. 2992. It's 18,000, nothing else. So anything below 18,000, you're getting the local baro pressure. What's the altimeter? Yeah. Once you go above 18,000, that is the very fancy gadget to hit the standard button. You're on standard baro pressure from there. In Europe, it's different. You can get that at 7,000, get it at 8,000. Depends on the weather. Yeah. And the airspace. All right. So anyway, I need to add, Jesus, Murph. Maybe I took it out. It's a good, the same but different. Same. No, different. Maybe I took the shagging thing out. You know, terminology. Terminology. I must have taken it out. Terminology. I must have taken it out. I'll put it back in because it is important and it's a cheat sheet. Maybe I took it out to use it as a cheat sheet. Maybe. Let's find out. Right. Now, come on down here because we're going to be looking at some charts now and figuring things out. All right. Where the feck is that, though? Self-announcing. No, that's grand. That's grand. ATC phraseology. Yeah, we know the crack with that. Key differences in the structure. Yes. Key differences in airspace. Yes. Comparisons. That's grand. That's grand. Yeah, I'll add it back in because it was a handy sheet. I found it on one of the VATSIM forums. And I'll throw it back in there just so we know what the crack is. Understanding. Here we go. Here we go. We change it. Lads, page 205. 205. Understanding the FAR, AIM, and FAA phraseology. Call sign designators. If you're flying a heavy or a super aircraft, remember you use that on your call sign for every transmission. Yeah? It's on this, lads. Page 205. So in Europe, on first contact with a controller, you'd say, you know, if you're heavy or super aircraft in terms of wake turbulent category, right? Hemel, good to see you. In the States, you'll always say, if you are in that wake turbulence category, you'll always say, you know, Delta 235 heavy or something like that. Yeah. Frequency abbreviations in the US, decimal points are pronounced as point instead of decimal. Don't say decimal, they'll think there's something wrong with you. Say point. All right. Ground frequencies are often abbreviated, so it won't be 121.800. No, it'll be 121.8. All right. Or just simply the 121 is the one that's implied. 121 over 2, you know, 21.8. They could say over 2 ground on 21.8. Just be aware of that. They'll drop the 1 because, well, we never go to 2. You know what I mean? Flight numbers are slightly different. Delta 4321 rather than Delta 4321. It's not always the case, but be prepared if you hear it. All right. Visual approaches for IFR flights. This is quite popular. We'll get onto this a little bit later doing our IFR stuff, but when you're doing your IFR flight, next thing you can do a visual approach and you'll get something like number 2, clear to land. Number 2? Jesus, I just got demoted from being Riker. What they mean is you're going to be following another aircraft. All right? All right. There's no conditional lineups, or at least some of them. Unlike some of the ICAO regions, the US ATC doesn't use conditional lineup instructions. Instead, you usually get lineup and wait rather than lineup and behind departing traffic. Right? They don't do an awful lot of that. It'll be just, you know, line up and wait. Land and hold short operations. Land and hold short clearances. You're authorized to land, but must stop or vacate the runway before a designated hold short point due to crossing traffic. Many real-world airlines don't accept this. It is rare enough in VATSIM, but you might hear about it, right? Anyway, squawk versus beacon. I've yet to hear someone say, I heard beacon on Pilot Edge years ago. It's usually squawk, but you might hear beacon. If you hear beacon, they're referring to squawk. All right? Right. Am I right in thinking the US ATC is a lot more informal? Yes, 100%. Someone said in the chat it's because they're lazy. It's not. It's because, think about it. US airspace is, without a doubt, the busiest airspace when it comes to general aviation and probably commercial flights too, right? It's so busy. So they have to be somewhat economic with how they're doing their talk. We just need to know when they say something, we're like, what did he mean by that? That's all this is, yeah? What else do we have? PDC isn't used a lot in the FAA airspace. PDC are issued via your usual stuff, PM, through your VPilot, or some aircraft can do it as well. RNAV SID procedures. RNAV, often called RNAV off the ground. ATC will mention your first RNAV waypoint in the takeoff clearance. Then you're expected to cross-check this against your FMC. So always check that. So when it comes to your clearance, they will follow craft, clearance, route, altitude, frequency, transponder. In Europe, it's a little bit different. We tend to get the frequency, we tend to get the squawk, then the frequency. So it's a little bit differently. Follow craft, C or AFT. All right. Also, you'll get something like, you know, I'll call up ATC and say, you know, I don't know, Dallas clearance, November 235 Romeo Mike, with information Bravo, IFR to friggin' Seattle. Right? All right. They'll come back and say, November 235 Romeo Mike, clear to Seattle via the Mad Lad 1 departure. Initial climb 5,000. Expect flight level 250 10 minutes after departure. Departure on 121.8, squawk 5656. That's very different to what we're used to hearing in Europe. So they're saying, okay, initial climb to 5,000. That's your clearance. So in Dublin, You know, you often get it, departure. What's the phraseology they use in Dublin? They don't say initial, but they'll say stop climb. So they'll give you a stop climb at flight level 9 or 0 or 09 or 0. Okay, so you're clear to go as high as 9,000. All right, they don't talk about expect your next altitude 10 minutes after that. The reason why they say that in the States, if for whatever reason they lose radio communications with you, your instruction is, okay, my initial climb is 5,000 and I'll expect, 250 10 minutes after departure. If you lose ATC comms, well, my last instruction was I'll be heading up to 250, but you also know that you're going to be getting your climb out, all right? They'll give you the SID or they'll give you part of the SID, and then you go off from that as well. Other things, then as filed, you'll hear that a lot, then as filed. It might seem redundant, but you should read it back. Departure on the Mad Lad 1, then as filed. And the reason why they say that, because they could give you something different. Direct to here, then as filed. Oh, okay. So I must go direct and then I go as I filed. Anyway, again, lads, we're going to look into loads of this in a while. Another thing they do, the FBO terminology. In America, there are a ton of fixed-based operators, a lot of them being Atlantic, Millionaire, all the different ones. At a lot of airports, they will reference those by their FBO name. So, for example, if you're at an airport that has an FBO, you would say, I'm over at Signature, or they'll tell you, taxi to Signature. What the hell is Signature? The good news is it's going to be on your charts, or if you're lucky enough, it's included with your scenery. But, taxi to Signature, I don't see where the sign for Signature, they mean the FBO, yeah? Right. Anyway, page 205, have a read of that. It's kind of the same but different, but that's the meat and veg. Right, moving on, friends, because now we're going to look at some airspace and then we're going to get into this flight, right? So, friends, there is a link here. I'm going to share it with you in the chat. This is the airspace from the dog's whiskers. It's from the Federal Aviation Administration, and it's all about airspace, rules of the sky, and it explains what the whole shebang is. A lot of this has become kind of more popular because of drone activity. People are flying drones a lot, and sure, drones it's an object, right? And it's flying. So a lot of training has now gone into drone pilots, but they haven't changed, the class airspaces to facilitate it. They're just letting them know the crack. All right, you're a drone pilot. Okay, well, this is what you need to know, because this is where everyone else is. All right, so that's what they mean by that. Anyway, that link there is the Airspace 101, the rules of the sky. Any questions so far? Boeing or Airbus? Boeing, but Gibbo converted me. Right, now, SkyVector, free website. I want you all to go over now and open up a SkyVector if you can. We're going to have a look. So, tonight, we're going to be flying out of Nantucket. SkyVector gives you US sectional charts for free in the United States, and the rest of the world is just kind of basic kind of VFR stuff or IFR stuff. You have some options over here. You can go to your high airways or your low airways. SkyVector is an excellent resource. Anyway, we're going to zoom in to see where Nantucket is. To find Nantucket, you come to Boston, or you can go to your flight plan or just do a search here. Kilo Alpha Charlie Kilo. Go ahead and hit go. There it should be now. And here we have it. This is Nantucket, and we can see some information. Now, lads, there's quite a bit of information here, and if you're stuck and you don't know how to read all of this, well, I'm going to show you how, right? Naughty Gnome, I got your DM. I must have a look at that in a bit. Now, where's this gadget? The legend. It's over in our Discord, lads. Have a look at this. This is the supplement. This is the cheat sheet of how to read these charts. Brilliant! There's a map of all the things we should know and learn and understand. If you have a printer, print this out, laminate it, put it somewhere handy, or save it as a link on your desktop. You need to get very familiar with this stuff. Right. Let's move it across here, because if we're stuck with anything, we can reference the legend. So let's have a look. Okay. Nantucket. This is where we're going to be flying from. And what's beautiful about SkyVector, it has so much information that at first you might be blown away by it, but Let's have a look. This is the region we're going to be flying in, and we can see there's all different coloured dots all over the place. They tend to be at weather stations, usually at airports. Different colours mean different things. So red, for example, or purple, it's all to do with if VFR is available. Blue is usually kind of, green is usually grand. And there's a key up here to figure out how it all works, right? But you'll notice as we're looking around the Boston airspace, and just have a look at this. If we go out to the Atlantic Ocean, see the way these tabs up here, we have world high, en route, world low, and world VFR. Yeah? Well, start heading back in towards this neck of the woods, and you'll see the way we're getting more of these starting to open up. It means that we have more terminal area charts. In our case, it's going to be Boston, a TAC or a TAC chart. TAC chart is the terminal area or traffic area or something like that. There's basically the zone, right? But there's also stuff here for New York. If I click on the Boston TAC, well, here's a brand new chart that's going to have way more detail. Okay. Come on down here to where it is we want to fly, because we're down right on the boundary of the TAC, which is Nantucket. Okay. What information can we get from here? Well, let's have a look. In any chart, when it comes to your sectionals, you're going to have what's called the airport box or the airport information, right? And I'm going to read it out, and we're going to try and follow this together. Here we can see the name of the facility. It's Nantucket Memorial. And then you can see the ICAO code minus the K. It's Alpha Charlie Kilo. All right. Next up, we can see CT 118.3. Does anyone know what that means? Does anyone know what CT means on this little chart here? Take a guess. You'll also notice this C that looks like a copyright, right? Scott puts both hands up. CT is control tower, the tower. Does anyone know what this is? ATC, Cessna, state your intentions, pilot, to get my commercial pilot license. I want to go flying, over. See this C that looks like it's in it looks like the copyright symbol. This means CTAF. And this is shocking important, because this is where folks are making the mistakes, if you like, on VATSIM. They're remaining on Unicom, which is 122.8 or 122.8. Unicom, or as we like to joke saying, it's LonelyCom. Well, that's where we talk. That's the frequency we monitor when there's no other controller online, right? 122.8. However, once you come into someone's airspace, right, they'll have a CTAF. Now, if they don't have a CTAF, that's quite okay. You stay on Unicom. But if they do have CTAF, that's the frequency you listen to. If it's a towered airport, well, you don't need to worry about CTAF. You're talking to the tower. You know what I mean? So that little C that looks like a copyright, if you see that at any airport, and look, we can go to other airports over here. Over the Martha's Vineyard, let's have a look. CT, control tower, 121.4, and it's also the CTAF. Yeah? Right, can we find somewhere else in this little map here? We can, look. So, Providence. Yeah, we're going to Providence. Rhode Island International. Control tower 120.7 also has CTAF. Yeah? Can we find one that doesn't have? Aha. No, that has. But there's no tower, so this is an uncontrolled field, look. Mansfield Municipal, 1 Bravo 9er. It has an automated weather observation. That's the frequency to get your weather. Similar to an ATIS, but it's an observation. You have the elevation. That's the first number. The airport has lighting at times. The longest runway is 3,500 feet. And here you have the CTAF. 123.0. So there's no tower frequency. That's CTAF. All right. We need to talk to this guy. So if you're on Unicom outside of these areas and then you want to fly in, then you swap over to CTAF. That's what they're doing now on VATSIM, and CTAF is what you use in the real world. Be careful of this. CTAF frequencies change from airport to airport. Example, Mansfield Municipal is 123.0. North Central State is 123.075. They change. So you need to refer to your charts for this. This information, it's absolutely free on SkyVector, and it's already there on your Navigraph. I swear by Navigraph. I use it all of the time, and it's the same information. Navigraph is better for me because I can actually track where I am for situational awareness. Where the devil am I? Well, that's where I am. Yeah? Right. So, moving on. I want to go back down here to Nantucket. So what else can we see? So the name, the tower frequency, an ATIS, that's the Automated Terminal Information Service, that's the weather, yeah. 47, that's the elevation, so it's 47 feet above the sea. There is runway lighting, timed. The longest runway is 6,300 feet, and then you have 122.905. 122.905. Other things you need to look at. We have a VOR station here. We have visual reference points. There's a bog, cranberry bog, golf courses, right? What else do we have here? We have man-made obstacles below 1,000 feet. Here's another one. There's another golf course. It says solar farm. So they're giving you visual reference points. And you also see the yellow areas. These depict areas of an urban buildup. It's a busy-ish area, right? Now, what's different here is the reason why they're yellow, it's giving you an outline of what that is going to look like at nighttime. At nighttime, because that's what that built-up area looks like at nighttime, yeah? So you always wonder why the shape is slightly different. Man, the city doesn't look like that. It's based on the nighttime lighting. That's what that is, right? But anyway, common traffic, yeah, CTAF, common traffic advisory frequency, yeah? Your SkyVector chart is different from my website, says Nighthawk. The once was a man from Nantucket. How so? So I'm using the TACK. I can go in then and just have a look at here. So it's right on the line of the Boston TACK. So we can get in here and have a look. We can see the airport. And if we wanted to change this, I mean, look, we can go to, a VFR map without the sectionals. So we can go to this. And what else can we do? We can go to satellite. You get the same idea. Yeah? You get the same idea. So we want to study the area. We want to study the area of Nantucket and where it is we're going to be flying to and from. All right? It's a small island, grand. What about the airspace? Because we've already learned about the airspace. Now, can anyone tell me what airspace is looking after Nantucket? So we can see, right, with the airport, well, it's covered in this broken blue line. Broken blue? What do they mean by broken blue? So we go back into our little manual here and we say, right, what's the airspace? Where's that gone? What's the airspace in our little broken blue line? Yeah. So come on down here, we go to airspace. So let's see here now. It's not a Bravo, not a Charlie. Oh, it's a Class Delta. Class Delta airspace. Because it's the broken blue line. All right, so it's Class Delta. So what do we need to do at a Delta? Well, Class Delta airspace, normally around smaller airports. It's depicted on the sectional chart by a dashed blue line. Sometimes airspace extensions to allow for instrument procedures. Okay. Additionally, many Class D airports switch to Class E when it's closed. So it could be nighttime. We must have two-way radio communication before entry. We don't need a specific clearance, but you need to talk to them beforehand. And the pilots with any type of ratings can operate in there as well. All right, so it's Class Delta. Brilliant. So we know that, well, we're going to need some sort of tower control. If there isn't a tower, we know then that we can talk on CTAF. And the CTAF for this neck of the woods is going to be 118.3. All right. Navigraph is using official US VFR charts, which has more info than SkyVector. Shouldn't. It really shouldn't. SkyVector has the same. So if we look at the SkyVector, that's the information there because we're looking at the Boston TACK. If I come out of the Boston TACK and just go to the World VFR, then we can see it from here, look. Yeah? That makes sense? So it should be the same, Nighthawk. Should be the same. Liptorius, good to see you. Anyway, right, brilliant. That's the story when it comes to the airspace that we're flying, right? So we're in a Class Delta. There's a bit of Class Echo around it. And for what we're doing, well, we're not venturing into any of the heavier areas. And the biggest, heaviest area is, of course, Boston Logan Airport. Yeah? Any ideas what airspace that little divil is? Well, if you're unsure by the colour, remember that they're gonna tell you on the chart what it is, look. They're going to tell you what this airspace is. You just need to find it on the map. It's Class Bravo. It's a Bravo airspace. It says it right there, class Bravo. Yeah? Right. So we're way out of the way and we're not going to be going terribly high. Now, there's also, see, NOTAMs are supplement for Class D and E surface effective hours. So what hours do these actually work? We can rely on ATC to tell us this, all right? Now, the traffic pattern, that's what we're doing tonight, lads. The traffic pattern, as we used to call it, the traffic circuit, all right? Basically what I said to you, it's a invisible kind of, what's the best, a routing, an invisible routing of how we're going to fly around the place, all right? The wind will always depict the active runway. You always want to be taking off into the wind, all right? So whatever direction the wind is blowing, if it's blowing into your face, well, that's the direction you want to be taking off in, usually. The airport is going to tell you what runway is active. If the airport is not controlled, well, you're going to be following what way the wind is going. We want to take off into the wind. Don't take off with a tailwind. That'd be bad. Anyway, how it works is, unless you're told otherwise, all airports use what's called a left-hand traffic pattern. What I mean by that is, unless you're told otherwise, remember that bit. What I mean by that is, a left-hand traffic pattern. It means when you take off, Jesus, we're getting paint out here. When you take off from an airport, wait till you see the skills that are applied here now, lads. Oh, Jesus, then. When we take off from an airport, right? How do we make this gadget now a little bit bigger? Solid outline. Here's our airport. Or here's our runway, right? Do something like that. Right, there's our runway. And we're going to use the pencil now. And we're going to, right, that's our airport, right? And the direction of flight is going to be, change the color. The wind is blowing against us from this direction. That's the wind. Y'all see that now? That's the wind. The wind is blowing this way. Right against us, right in front of us, right? So that means we're going to be taking off this direction here because we want to fly into the wind, yeah? We want to fly into the wind, all right? Okay. Our routing, or the traffic pattern then, as we take off, we're going to be going this way. And what we mean by a left-hand pattern, we're going to be turning left. It's a left-hand turn because it's a left-hand traffic pattern, yeah? So we're making a left turn. That makes sense? I didn't go to art school, so like, shag off. Does that make sense though? You see the direction of flight we're going? Okay. That last one looked crap. Where's my little eraser? Get rid of this mess I made up here. Shit. Yeah, rid of that mess. Now, let's talk about this for the moment. Because we're taking off and these are left-hand turns, right? What we need to do here is, because we're turning left, so after takeoff, once we get to an agreed altitude, we turn left, and we turn left again, then we turn left again. There are names to each of these sections, right? And we'll explain. So, see the way we're turning left here, and the wind, instead of hitting us head on, well, the wind is now hitting us cross, yeah? So this leg, there's legs to this. This is called the crosswind leg here. That's a stupid thing. That's a crosswind, yeah? Also known as the crosswind leg. When we get to this stage, we're flying this way, the wind is now behind us, so it's called the downwind. We're now with the wind. It's a downwind leg, yeah? When we get down here, yeah, they don't call it another crosswind, they call it the base leg, yeah? Base leg. Downwind and cross. Now, don't worry, there's far nicer gadgets. I'm just trying to do this briefly. The distance we need to keep roughly, and we'll be doing this in the flight, we want to be somewhere between a half a mile to 1 mile away from the runway. That's the distance we want to be doing. All right? So when we take off, the FAA state, once you're within 300 feet of the pattern altitude, that's an important name to remember. What is the pattern altitude? For the most part, it's going to be 1,000 feet AGL above the elevation of the airport, above ground level, okay? So if the airport was 100 feet in elevation, That looked like a pair of boobs. If it was 100 feet, well, and we need to be at 1,000 feet, yeah? Well, then our pattern altitude is going to be 1,100 feet. Does that make sense? If the airport elevation was 500 feet and we need to be at 1,000 above that, because the pattern altitude is 500, well, then we need to be at 1,500 feet. Does that make sense? We picking that up so far? Brilliant. The distance is going to be between half a mile and a mile from the airport. And when we start turning our first turn, we need to be beyond the threshold of the runway, i.e. here, as in we need to go past the runway. And once we're in about 300 feet off the pattern altitude, then we turn left. Now, usually when I've done flying, fly the runway heading, get to 500 feet, hang a left. Keep climbing, get to 1,000 feet, hang a left. And now you're on the downwind. And that's what we'll do, right? If your aircraft is bigger than a standard single-engined general aviation aircraft, there are slightly different rules. If you're in a turboprop or a multi-engine or something a little bit faster like a jet, well then the traffic pattern altitude increases. It's now at 1,500 feet AGL. So the same principle applies. If the airport elevation is 500 and you're in the multi-engine or a turbo, well, you need to go 1,500 feet above that. That's going to be 2,000 feet. Does that make sense? Don't worry about that stuff for the moment, because I recommend we all start off on our little Cessnas or something not terribly powerful. Right? Right. We'll learn more about this, but just so we have a general kind of gist. Here are some tips that I do. As again, I'm not here to teach you how to fly, but I'll give you some tips. I use the aircraft to help me out with this. My heading indicator, I'll always set my heading bug to the runway heading. Therefore, I have a visual representation at all times what direction the runway is facing. So when I turn left, the runway heading should move to my right. When I turn left again, it goes behind me. That makes sense? I'll show you now in a second. Now that 1,000 feet, usually when you're learning how to fly, they're fairly flexible, plus or minus 100. The distance from the runway, half a mile to a mile, again, they're fairly lenient, so you could ramble out 2 miles, but ideally you want to keep it within a mile. This is all about structuring movement in and around airports. If your turn rate, when you know, at what stage, Murph, do you turn back to the airport on final? You should be turning onto your base roughly when your aircraft is at a 45-degree angle from the start of the runway. It's called looking over your left shoulder. Roughly 45-degree angle over your shoulder. Yeah, there's the airport. Right, start your turn to the left. We'll show you this in the air. However, some airports have what's called a right-hand traffic pattern. Huh? Yes. You have to go on a right-hand traffic pattern. And the reason why they do that, well, there's loads of reasons why they do that. There could be an obstacle. There could be like mountains on one side. So no, you can't fly that way. You're going to go straight into a mountain. You have to go right. Okay. Yeah. Close that. I need to frame that and put it on the fridge. Anyway, here's a 3D interpretation of, you have your crosswind leg, you have your downwind, your base, and then final. Yeah. They'll also show you the departure leg. And there's also an entry leg here. Again, this is from the FAA Pilot Handbook. Save that link, have a read over it. It'll teach you everything that it is you need to know about what we're going to be doing. We'll worry about joining the pattern later. And then, this is how how do we know, is it going to be a left hand or a right hand? So I've never used the segmented circle. I rarely see them here. However, they do work. You can follow them along. Non-towered airports, how do we join the pattern? We can do the standard teardrop, which is this. We've seen something like that. And then the overfield cross. We've done that in the UK stuff, right? But there are ways that you fly basically 500 feet above your pattern altitude, overfly the runway, yank a hard right-hand turn, and come back in on the downwind leg. That's this one, which is the most preferred. The second one is you fly at the pattern altitude over the center point of the runway, and then you join the downwind leg straight away. That's that uncontrolled stuff. ATC are always going to tell you what to do. Interestingly, 34% of accidents happen on final or on the runway. So this is where people make a mess of things. How you need to understand all of this jazz, see and avoid. Use the see and avoid principle. If there's another aircraft blocking your way, avoid it. Make sense? Right. Now, was there anything else? Oh yeah, we need to see in our chart. So Nantucket, there's nothing here that tells me there's a different traffic pattern as in direction. Yeah. Let's go looking around here. Ah, brilliant. Martha's Vineyard. Do you see this RP? Can anyone tell me what RP means? Go on, I'll give you the guess. Go on, someone guess it there now. What does RP mean? Martha's Vineyard is very different. Yeah? Right pattern.
Hello there.
So we can see on the sectional chart, Martha's Vineyard, it's telling us it's a right traffic pattern. It's a right pattern. Therefore, the active runway, when we take off, we turn right. They're right-hand patterns. Ah, unless you're told otherwise, it's left. This one here, it's telling us it's right. Yeah? It's right. That makes sense? Okay. Other rules will go into it, of course. There's in the real world noise abatement areas, as Captain Gaiman is saying. There's noise abatement things. So the airport, for example, when we talk to the tower at Nantucket, they could tell us left or right because ATC overrule what the charts will say in terms of the traffic pattern. Why? Because they're in control of the sequencing and keeping aircraft away from each other. All right. So they're going to tell us what direction we're flying. You could, for example, if you were landing on this runway here, say it's runway, I don't know, what's this, 14? Let's say you're landing on runway 14 and that's a left-hand traffic pattern. But what if you want to go in on the opposite at like, what, 29er, 28? What's the opposite of 24? Plus 180. 26. Is it? No. Do our maths. Anyway, the opposite runway, it is 26. The opposite runway here, that also, that could be a right or left. 2406. Yeah, so 06. If it's 06 is a left hand, and then we were coming in on 24, well, they could tell us 24 is a right hand pattern. Why would that be? They want to keep all the traffic over here regardless of what's happening with the runway. So be aware of that. You could have a left hand on one way or a right hand on the other. They can change it. Again, ATC will tell you, or check your charts. Charts, and charts. All right? Right. Are we happy enough with that? The traffic pattern. Yay? Yay. Right. Brilliant. We're going to do it now, lads. Now, do we have ATC coverage here? Just for the sheer crack of it, let's press some buttons and find out. We may not. VATSIM radar. No bueno. So no, we don't. Although, no, LaGuardia is on, but we've nothing down here. So we've no ATC on VATSIM at the moment. Not a big to do. I've already spoken to the lads in Boston Virtual. From next week, they're going to be trying to staff us up. But you guys have all week to complete this flight and as many more as you like using the WINGS flight. So if you go to the WINGS flight, you'll see it. VFR Flight 1. And let's get a quick briefing. In the WINGS program, we're going to experience everything from basic VFR closed traffic, there's a new word, to complex IFR flights. So what we're going to do here, in this flight, we're going to complete a minimum of 3 laps of the VFR traffic pattern in a small non-jet general aviation aircraft. Before flying, ensure that you have the airport diagram available and that the weather is suitable for the VFR flight. Okay. The traffic pattern is the standard method by which VFR aircraft depart and arrive at an airport. As shown in the diagram box below, the pattern is rectangular in shape and it's flown so the field is within sight at all times. The maximum altitude reached during the pattern, called the pattern altitude, is 1,000 feet AGL or above ground level for light aircraft, unless otherwise published. Twin engine turboprop small jets, well, they can go up to 1,500 feet. So we can see WINGS are giving us all the information that we need, lads. Hence, this is just a good fit. We'll do the theory, they'll do the practical. So hopefully you're getting the best of both worlds here. Whatever I confuse you with, which will be a lot, these lads will straighten it out, right? Grand. So we have the upwind, a crosswind, a downwind, a base, and final. All right. The pattern is normally flown left traffic in the diagram, meaning that all turns are made to your left, unless you're told otherwise. Fair enough. To begin our VFR Flight 1 for WINGS, start off at the GA ramp at Nantucket, ensure you have the airport diagram, and make sure the weather is VFR. Basically, you've good visibility. When ready, contact Nantucket Ground and request taxi to the active runway for VFR closed traffic. If there's no good controller available, then contact the next highest air traffic control covering that position. Okay, now checking on the map, there's no one in this area, so for this, I'm going to be using SayIntentions, but you'll get the same idea. These guys even go to detail of how you're going to speak to them. So in this, it's going to be Nantucket Ground, your call sign, at the terminal or at GA parking with whatever information we're going to pull from the ATIS, requesting taxi for VFR closed traffic and WINGS VFR 1. Now, for SayIntentions, I'm not going to say WINGS VFR 1 because closed traffic. So we're expecting to hear back left closed traffic approved, or they might say right closed traffic approved. So closed traffic, it just means it's you're flying circuits. If you go to an American and say, I want to fly circuits, this guy wants a circus, right, you'll confuse it. Closed traffic. They're also going to give us something else. They can say, you know, we want you to report on the downwind, I'll call your base, all of these different things we've seen before. However, they might tell us something mad. You're cleared for the option. Now, I've never been told this in Ireland, flying, you know. You're cleared for the option. What option? Salt and vinegar. You know, 2 sugars, right? You're cleared for the option. Basically what they're saying to you is, if you're cleared for the option, you're cleared for that option. Be it, you can do a touch and go, you can do a go around, you can do a full stop, or you can do a stop and go. You've all different things here, all different things, right? So, an example of what this is going to work. We're going to say something like, Tower, you know, November 235 Romeo Mike, General Aviation, Information Bravo, request closed, or request friggin' closed traffic. All right. He'll come back to me, November 235, cleared for left closed traffic, contact when ready for taxi. Something like that. Or he'll tell me, you know, report midfield on each time, or each pattern. Report midfield. All right. He'll give me the weather and then whatever else. When I go to take off, I'll be holding short. So, for example, Tower, November 235, Romeo Mike, holding short, runway 25, request closed traffic, or on Matros, closed traffic. They'll give it the instruction. We take it from there. Have a listen. Have a listen. All will be revealed when we have a listen, right? So here's our aircraft. We are in the incredible Flying Fries Gabrielle, because this thing, lads, and I'm just telling you, it's a friggin' champ when it comes to flight training, because the visibility we have, the modern avionics, and its ability to move. This thing can haul ass. It's great. Ideal trainer, right? So because I don't have any VATSIM, I'm going to be using, for this week, we're going to be using SayIntentions. We should have VATSIM up and running next week. All right? All right. So let's see what happens here. SayIntentions doing a bit of loading here in the background. And let's make sure this is all done. My identity is November 235 Romeo Mike. That's all tickety-boo. All right. So I'm going to jump in over here into my plane. And now, friends, let us see what happens. So, remove that. Bring up my little tablet. And we're going to start checking our fuel. Fuel is good. Options. Remove the chocks. Remove the pitot covers. Engine hood and all that jazz is good. Close this. Lock the canopy. And we're going to start off here with a couple of things. So, gear is in the down position. Parking brake is set. Fuel is off or on. ELT is looking good. Flaps are in the up position, so we shouldn't get any warnings there. Go ahead and turn on the battery. Battery coming on. Alternator, we'll stick it there for the moment. Fuel selector is on both. We'll put on our nav lights here while we're waiting. Auxiliary pump we'll throw on in a moment. Avionics can come on at this stage, because this is where I'm going to listen in and have a listen to the ATC. So we can check out the charts. What I need to get the ATIS is going to be on 127.5. So 127.5, 127.5, 127.5.
Memorial Airport. Information Whiskey. 1953 Zulu.
Have a listen to this.
Wind 200 at 19er. Visibility 1/2 mile. Sky conditions. Temperature 11. Dew point 11. Altimeter 29er 75. Density altitude -200 feet. Arriving and departing runways 24, 15. Bird activity in vicinity of airport.
Jesus.
Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information whiskey.
Okay, so information whiskey is current. All right, so they told us what runways are active. They've also given us a warning. They're telling us, hey, you got bird activity there. So we need to be careful. As pilots, we need to be careful, right? Because SayIntentions can actually inject birds into your sim.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
And it'll just ruin your day. But in the real life, that can happen, right? So that's our ATIS. We have the information whiskey. Next job then, we're going to be talking to ground. If there isn't ground, we will be talking to CTAF, right? So we're going to tune into the ground frequency. So it's 132.5. So 132.5. Now, I don't need to ask for clearance to start up my aircraft. We're in America. Auxiliary pump on. Well, I can't open my window to say clear prop. Turn on the mags. Prop full. Mixture rich. Open the throttle. Brakes are on. Open the starter. Clear prop. Close the starter. And we're looking good. Anti-collision lights and pitot heat can come on. No squawk at the moment. So we're now going to tune into the ground frequency.
Hotel Alpha, hold short of taxiway Golf, awaiting further instructions.
We're going to ask them what we're going to do, right?
Taxiway Golf Hawker 511 Hotel Alpha.
So again, if we're unsure, go back into here and we're going to ask them information whiskey. So let's have a listen. That's just someone else talking.
JetBlue 122, read back correct.
Nantucket ground, November 235 Romeo Mike at General Aviation. Information whiskey, request closed traffic. Let's see what it says.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 24, left close traffic approved. Report midfield each time. Advise when ready to taxi.
Okay, there we go. So I'll repeat that. Runway 24, left closed traffic approved. Report midfield each time and will advise when ready for November 235 Romeo Mike. All right, so we've got an instruction to say we're clear to do this. It's going to be left-hand patterns, and he wants us to report when we're on the midfield. Now, midfield means if we go back here and say, Jesus, where's the midfield? They never said midfield, they said downwind. Let us think logically, friends. The downwind, we're not going to be at the midfield on takeoff because we're taking off, right?
Falcon 762 Foxtrot Romeo, turn right on taxiway.
We're not going to be midfield when it's at the crosswind. It's going to be here on our downwind. They're going to say, talk to us each time when we're on midfield. All right. Now, we could say, listen, we want to do 3 patterns. We want to do 1 pattern. We just know we're going to be talking. We need to contact this lad initially when we're at the midfield. They might change that. They might, because they might tell us, extend your downwind, I'll call your base. They'll do all of these different things, especially if there's a traffic advisory to say, hey, you've an aircraft coming in, follow him. Do you know what I mean? But that's the instruction we just got, so that's what we're going to follow. All right? Right. Now we're ready to taxi. So for this, we want to bring up our airport chart to see, well, where the ticket are we supposed to go, right? So if we zoom in here, go to the charts, look at the airport, pop it open there. This is where I'm at. So runway 24, which is down here. So I'm looking to say, right, well, we're going to head down this neck of the woods onto the taxiway down to Kilo. So that's what I'm expecting, yeah? Each time you're cleared for takeoff. Yeah, they might ask us when it's cleared for takeoff. But don't worry, lads. With SayIntentions, it's an AI... what's the word I'm looking for? It's an AI solution to help us out because, well, there's no VATSIM traffic there. And don't worry, SayIntentions is not there to replace human ATC. That's not their goal here whatsoever. They're not here to replace it. They're here to supplement it. They're here to support it at times when there's no ATC. So if it's not 100% right, well, that's okay. We'll feed that back to them, let them know, say, hey, that wasn't exactly 100% correct. Okay, we'll teach it. That's the only way it's going to get better. All right. So anyway, I'm ready to taxi. Let's see what happens. Nantucket ground, November 235 Romeo Mike is ready to taxi. Squawk is good.
5 Romeo Mike, taxi to runway 24 at your discretion.
That was very nice. Taxi runway 24, 5 Romeo Mike. Right, so the barrow is correct. And what else we can do here? Get ourselves set up here. So we're saying the pattern altitude is going to be 1,000 feet. Yeah. So the airport elevation is 45. So we're going to put in, it's going to be about 1,050. Now, I don't think I can get 1,050. So we can either go 1,000 or 1,100. Doesn't really matter. We're going to aim for 1,100 and make sure we don't go beyond that. Is that fair enough? Right. What else we want to do here? We'll put on our flight director, go ahead and get our taxi light up and running, and we're going to come off the brakes and we're going to start moving here. Now, squawk. Balls, what was me squawk? Do. Do you know, he didn't give us a squawk.
Taxiway Alpha hold short of runway 22.
That's okay. Well, squawk VFR.
Falcon on Alpha holding short of runway 22, Gulfstream 671 Golf Sierra.
Alright, off the brake. Small bit of power. And we'll spin around this way to the right. Without dying, Murphy. Easy now, Jemima. Some skill. This is the beautiful Flying Fries Gabrielle. It's a beaut. So we're taxiing along. Our job as a pilot, we're keeping our eye outside. What's happening? Is there other aircraft in the pattern? We're listening out for them and we're looking around. Squawk 1200 VFR, yes. So have it on, I've my transponder on at the moment. We'll put it onto altitude mode once we get onto the runway, or just before the runway. All right. Now we haven't been clear for takeoff. Just remember what they're telling us, yeah? Taxi to runway 24 at our discretion. All right. So this one here, Captain Gaiman, this is actually a payware Nantucket. It's 20 bucks though. Jesus! Lord Freed, you absolute mad lad! Did you just see what he did? Wasn't it Jesus? He just gifted 10 tier 1 subs like a madman. Bloody hell, you scared the life out of me. Thank you very, very much indeed. What a true legend. It's a payware scenery for Nantucket and it's kind of decent. Thank you very much. Your first time ever. Thank you very, very much. And look at you in your fancy airplane. Brilliant. Fantastic.
Awaiting further instructions.
Right, we're hanging left here. That scared the crap out of me. Right, we'll do this. Now remember, we're going to do 3 laps, yeah? Now see the whole short here? There's an active runway ahead of us, so it shouldn't have told us this. Now it did say my discretion.
Copy, Alpha Juliet 75.
Nantucket ground, November 235 Romeo Mike, holding short runway 33. We wish to taxi to runway 24. Let's see what it says.
5 Romeo Mike, taxi to runway 24 via Charlie, cross runway 33 at your discretion.
Taxi 24 via Charlie, cross runway 33 for 5 Romeo Mike. Alright. Light them up. Again, when it comes to ATC, depending on the controllers, and you might find this, right? You might find this at some airports. The controller might be training. They could be very busy. You're not there to correct them. You're there to help them out. All right? And again, like, using real-world procedures for VFR, this is quite new when it comes to any AI program. But any feedback we can give, I mean, this is the whole point of this. We can give this information back to SayIntentions. Know what I mean? Wicked Lumberjacks, negative on that. No multiplayer. Because it'd be a complete mess.
Juliet taxi to holding point Charlie via taxiway Bravo. Taxiing to holding point Charlie via Bravo. Learjet
I'd love to help them. IF or VFR a lot the same. Absolutely. Captain Gaiman, they would love the help, man. They need the feedback, you know what I'm saying?
Have a good evening.
Right, let's have a look at this. Transponder, we'll go ahead and stick it onto alt mode. Go ahead and enter that. Nantucket ground, 5 Romeo Mike, holding short runway 24. Alright, get ourselves set up. Our heading bug. Stick this guy onto the runway heading, because that's going to help us out. Turn that gadget there. And the reason why I'm putting my heading bug on the runway heading, I'll know at all times where the friggin' thing is. You know what I mean? Nantucket ground, 5 Romeo Mike, holding short runway 24, ready for departure. Let's see what happens.
5 Romeo Mike, you are on ground frequency. Contact tower on 118.3 for departure clearance.
Over to 118.3. 5 Romeo Mike. Pause! Nantucket Tower, 5 Romeo Mike, holding short runway 24. Yeah, your AI is shy. It just feckin' owned me, didn't it? Jesus.
November 235 Romeo Mike, Nantucket Tower, left close traffic approved. Report midfield each time. Winds 200 at 18, gusting 28, runway 33, cleared for takeoff.
Left closed traffic approved. Report midfield. Winds checked. Runway 28. Sorry, runway 33. What? Runway 24. Clear takeoff. Did you just say runway 33?
Frequency change approved. November
24, mate. 24. Grand.
6 Bravo Lima, welcome to Nantucket. Contact ground on 132.5.
You did say 33, yeah. You got that wrong. Tower, be advised, we are using runway 24 for 5 Romeo Mike. Yeah, big agent. Right. Are we ready? Flap set. Good, good, good. Walking, talking, and squawking. Power coming in. Up the yard. Speed alive. There's 60. 65. 67. Oopsie daisy. I'm a sporty. Easy now. Positive rate. Gear up. Flaps in. Watching the speed.
Skyhawk 505 Alpha Mike, extend downwind, I'll call your base.
Easy now.
Downwind, awaiting base call. Skyhawk 505 Alpha Mike.
Climbing nicely.
Alpha Juliet 75. Feel free to taxi to the gate whenever you're ready.
You have a phone number for me?
72 Kilo Hotel contact departure on 126.1.
Over to 126.1, 72 Kilo Hotel, thank you.
Easy now. So we're going to turn it around 500. That's usually what I do. Alright. So here's the first turn. Ramble over. And it's a full 90-degree left-hand turn, yeah?
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33, cleared for the option.
That was early. Cleared for the option, 5 Romeo Mike. Tower, we want runway 24. Yeah, big agent. Why are you giving me 3-3? Straighten up there.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 2 is not available. You are cleared for runway 33.
Runway 24, you gobshite. Alright, keep climbing. Up to 1,000. Airport's on our left. There she be. If you're giving me 3-3, that changes the laws of bleeding physics, lad. Jesus.
Skyhawk 542 Alpha X-ray.
In a low-wing aircraft like this, you can keep the runway at the tip of the wing to stay within the half mile.
Runway 22 Skyhawk 542 Alpha X-ray.
100%.
Over to departure, citation 517 Juliet Tango.
Sadly, SayIntentions don't have multiplayer sequencing yet. Yeah, they don't have it yet.
Transfer to departure on 126.1.
Easy now. We're sticking with 2-4 because, like, shag it. But that's the idea, right? Nantucket Tower, this is 5 Romeo Mike. we are using runway 24. That is 24. Do what you're told, tower. I'm in charge. If it's not liking it, I'll just restart it.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 24 is not available. You are cleared for runway 33.
Did the winds change? Yeah, I don't know.
Who's in charge? You haven't a clue what you're doing.
Tower calls the run. Yeah, but like still. You're ruining me lesson. It's alright, lads. We won't worry about it just yet. I wonder actually, can we change that? Do what the machines say. Yeah, very strange way it did that. Because usually they tell you, you know what I mean? So, so left close traffic approved.
I'll call your crosswind. Sending upwind awaiting crosswind call Skyhawk 90001 Bravo.
Taxi runway 24 at your discretion. So they gave us runway 24 and now they're saying it's 33. So it kind of dropped the ball there, didn't it? She kind of dropped the ball. Yeah, don't annoy ATC. Well, no, we'll figure it out here now in a second. It really shouldn't be doing that. I'll talk to Brian on it, because that just shouldn't happen. But anyway, we shan't worry, friends. We shan't worry. Nantucket 5 Romeo Mike is on the left base for runway 24. Touch and go. It's going to tell me no. It's going to say no. You can shag
5
off.
Romeo Mike, runway 24, cleared for the option.
Cleared for the option, runway 24, 5 Romeo Mike. Jesus. Right, it's doing it now.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33, cleared for the option.
Ah, Jesus. Kill it with fire! It's not working tonight. We'll try it again. ATC, SayIntentions. Yeah, try it again, lads. You failed miserably. Yes. Get in there now. Let's give it a moment and see what it says.
Right down.
Nantucket Tower, 5 Romeo Mike, touch and go, runway 24.
Cessna 668, winds 158 at 2H.
It might correct
5
itself.
Romeo Mike, runway 24, cleared for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 24, 5 Romeo Mike. If it shagged, restart it. Right, easy now. So this is going to be a touch and go. Here's the first one. Easy. 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 Oh, Jesus. Power coming in. Upsie daisy. Gear up. I'm terrified what it's going to tell me now. Alright. We shall climb. And then it'll be another left hand. We'll see how we go. Captain Gaiman, have a good one. It got confused. It just got confused. It's alright, lads. Alright, coming on 500. We're on the left.
Clear for takeoff, runway 29. Clear for takeoff, runway 29, Bonanza 64 Foxtrot Alpha 2.
Here's a left turn coming in.
Reporting on left base, Alpha Juliet 75.
And we'll, hopefully we can just report
Alpha Juliet
midfield.
75. Say again.
It may have just needed a restart.
When I'm on fine, Alpha 33 left.
There's our airport.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33, cleared for the option.
Negative, we are using runway 24. Give me strength. Jesus.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33, cleared for the option.
You're not listening, Chief. No, you muppet. It has to be runway 24. The whole thing should be runway 24. Jesus.
Flight Romeo Mike, runway 24, cleared for the option.
Thanks very much. Runway 24 cleared for the option. 5 Romeo Mike. Jesus. Oh. Yeah, I need to have a conversation. It's just, I wouldn't mind. It worked absolutely flawlessly yesterday. Like, perfect. So, machines, lads. It's machines. But we get the idea, right?
Citation 433 Mike Whiskey.
Sure, we get the idea.
Zero traffic on final.
Holding short of runway 20, citation 4.
Negative Ghost Rider, the pattern is full. He just wanted to say 3-3.
X-ray Delta 1.
We'll see what
contact
happens,
departure.
right?
Thanks.
It'll probably do it again once we ramble in here. It'll be like it'll give us the 3-3 again. Sure, listen, it'll be grand. Probably due to live and custom weather. Well, it's using live weather, so if they shifted it, that's probably where it's at. So if there's an update to weather, that's where it's struggling. But like, between getting our clearance and then Tower saying it's departing it on runway 24, giving you 3-3, like that's just all strange. You know what I mean? But sure, look, we won't get too worried about it. Again, what we're trying to do is maintain, you know, the VFR pattern. I've kind of blown through that altitude a little bit, but we're not overly worried. All right, start turn left base. Bring the power back. I'll have a chat to Brian about it anyway. Like, they will fix it, lads. Like, that's, you know, it's the last thing they want to be dealing with, you know what I mean?
Beechcraft 90001 Bravo, cleared to land runway 24, wind calm. Cleared to land runway 24.
Now again, during this whole stage, you will be looking out for other traffic and you're listening to see what, you know, ATC are saying. You know what I mean?
Flight Romeo Mike, runway 33, cleared for the option.
No, yep. 5 Romeo Mike is using runway 24. I want you to only give me runway 24. Is that clear? Or have I to go down there?
5 Romeo Mike, runway 24, cleared for the option.
Clear for the option, runway 24, 5 Romeo Mike. Don't mind any of that part, it's just, it's shanked, but it's grand. We'll get that bit fixed. Again, if you had VATSIM on, like, you just don't have these headaches. You know what I mean? Easy now, gear coming down. This is our second. And Nantucket Tower, 5 Romeo Mike is doing a touch and go runway 24. We're going to do one more circuit and that's a full stop landing only for runway 24. Let's see how it kind of reacts to that.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 24, cleared for the option. After the touch and go, you can continue for one more circuit and then make a full stop landing on runway 24.
Roger, 5 Romeo Mike. We have pilots argue with us every so often. It's not about arguing. That's just getting it wrong, so that's just adding to the complexity. But like, doing circuits and stuff, it's very straightforward. Or pattern work, sorry, it's very straightforward.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 24, cleared for the option. After the touch and go, continue for one more circuit and then make a full stop landing on runway 24.
There's our touch. And here's our go. Easy now. Right, the tower has just been turned off. Because I can't be dealing with that. So we're on CTAF. 118.3, that's CTAF. We did, yeah. Nantucket traffic, November 235 Romeo Mike, left-hand pattern. We'll call the downwind for a full stop runway 24, Nantucket. Right. We'll just stay on CTAF. Like, we will have ATC next week, but yeah, that issue with SayIntentions, we need to fix that. But they will fix it. Like, ultimately, what would be worse if something like that happened, it's not reported to them and they don't know about it? You know what I mean? What I recommend you guys do, this week especially, is practice VFR pattern work around this airport. And it's trying to get yourself somewhat accurate when it comes to, you know, your turns, managing the aircraft. Always pick an aircraft that you're comfortable with. You know how to fly it. And try and stick to those altitude limits. And yeah, look, you can cheat. I mean, you could be using friggin', you know, you could be using autopilot to help you out here all the time. But hand flying this, especially when it comes to VATSIM flights, really handy. Nantucket traffic, 5 Romeo Mike is on the left downwind, runway 24, full stop, Nantucket. Easy now. Like, if it was 3-3, if they gave us clearance from 3-3, it probably would have worked flawlessly. It's just the fact that they changed it. Like, it gave me the first part and then the second part, and they were both wrong. That's kind of where the issue is, you know what I mean? Anyway, we'll know when to turn when the start of runway 24 is going to be at a 45-degree angle from our location. And again, we're doing our bit of wind. We're doing our best to remain at the pattern altitude, which is, you know, the airport elevation plus 1,000. You know. Lord Freed, you take care, my dude. Have a lovely evening. Right, so there's the wind kind of messing with us. Ease up now, Murph. When you're on CTAF, when you're calling out your own reports, you have to do way much more. You're constantly on the blower saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Alright, turning left base. Nantucket traffic, 5 Romeo Mike, turning left base, full stop, runway 24, Nantucket. Watch the speed. So you're constantly reporting out, and you're telling everyone what you're doing, and you're keeping your eyes open to see if there's other traffic there. And on CTAF, you'll be able to hear other aircraft and what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Threshold says, is there a sync issue with your mic tonight? Jez, I hope not. How's the audio visual, lads? Am I out of sync? Let's have a quick gawk. We're okay? Maybe just do an L refresh there, Threshold. Nantucket traffic, 5 Romeo Mike is on a 2-mile final, runway 24, full stop, Nantucket. Alright, lower the gear. Now, a huge advantage to kind of extending your base leg, it gives you more time to get the aircraft stable, because if you want to, you know, if you wanted a more accurate landing, a softer landing, the longer you have to get that aircraft stable, the better, yeah? Now, there's all other stuff we can be using. We can be using PAPI, we can be using the, there's loads of different things we can be using to help us out. Before this, everything's visual, so we'll just, easy now, we'll just keep things visual. You know what I mean? Sound is slightly before the video, says Muse. Oh. No worse, what was that? No worse than normal. You're slightly out. That's very strange. Okay. It's a night of... What's that doing? Why is my camera suddenly freaking out? Jeez, we don't want that on our short final. But anyway, we're grand. Right, hold the nose. Easy now. Is our full stop landing. Touchdown. Alrighty. to know. Nantucket traffic, November 5 Romeo Mike has vacated the active onto Alpha, taxiing to General Aviation, Nantucket. And that's kind of the stab of it. Now, we'll do a quick kind of debrief just to see where we're at. So we'll stop here because we're not actually on the network, so we'll just stop here and have a now listen. Right, so the ATC was shagged there, right? That's what happened because it was giving us runway 24 and we had planned the whole flight on 24. If it was 33, we'd have gotten just 33. But the same kind of logic applies, right? 33 is going to be left-hand traffic as well because unless it's stated on your charts, it's left-hand. It's all left-hand, right? Unless it says otherwise on your charts. So all that happens there is on takeoff, when you depart, usually get up to around 500 feet, or as per the FAA, 300 feet below pattern altitude, make your first left turn. In actual fact, I think if you read the information at Nantucket, they tend to go with 2-4 because they don't want you flying over Nantucket because there's all, in the real world, there's all noise abatement there. Anyway, you'd be circling around, your downwind would then be over here, and then you have your base and then back in again. So it's kind of much the same. Let's have a look over here briefly. Still no one up over here. Let's just check. You never know your luck. Yeah, okay, so there's still there's no one in Boston. I don't know what time they come on it, but I imagine probably around midnight, 1 o'clock, yeah? So for next week, we'll definitely have that. And for the SayIntentions part, I'll talk to Brian because that was just wrong. But we get the idea. All the information for this flight is here on this, right? And for each of the flights that you do, they're going to be telling us what the crack is. They're going to be saying, look, this is what you need to say, this is how you're going to say it, and this is why you're going to say it. So here's one for you. Unless specifically asked by air traffic control, you don't need to report each pattern turn you're going to make while you're flying. The controller knows where you are and they'll issue a landing clearance when appropriate. However, if you haven't received any instruction from the controller by the time you're turning final, you should remind them of your location and your intention. Remember, you can't land or even complete a touch and go without clearance to do so. Aircraft in the pattern normally receive the instruction cleared for the option, which allows you to execute a full stop landing, a touch and go, a stop and go, a low approach, whatever, it's at your discretion. However, due to constraints with other arriving or departing traffic, the controller may not be able to issue you this instruction. Instead, you might only hear clear to land or clear touch and go, which restrict you executing only a full stop. Depending on how crowded the airspace is at the time of your flight, ATC may issue with a variety of instructions in order to help sequence the aircraft. Most of these instructions, they're self-explanatory, but don't hesitate to ask for clarification. Extend downwind, tower to call base turn. So if you heard something like that, extend your downwind, the tower will call your base turn. That makes sense. Extend your downwind and tower will tell us when we can turn left. All right. When speed and altitude permit, turn crosswind. Okay, so they want you to turn fast on your crosswind. Why might that be a thing? Does anyone know? When speed and altitude permit, we want you to turn crosswind. Why would they want you to do that? And we go back to our charts when we're maybe asking this question, yeah? So if we have a look at SkyVector. So if we're around here and they want us to turn as soon as we possibly can, why might they be asking us to do that? You know? Should always use a verbal checklist such as gumps for each landing. Agree, Steve? Yeah, 100%. I mean, if for real world flying, yes. Right? Incoming traffic, 100%. Could be departing traffic is slow, right? It could be incoming traffic. Unlikely, but could be weather. Or if you're operating at an airport that's kind of close to another, say a class Charlie or whatever, you need to get out of there before you drift into their airspace. You know what I mean? So don't be worried if you hear something like that. They could say something like that to you. And then the last one, you might hear something like, you know, turn base now. Okay, I'll turn base now. That's fairly straightforward, yeah? Additionally, ATC may request you to report other aircraft in sight, and then they're going to sequence you based on those aircraft. For example, the controller could say, November 32 Bravo, traffic 3 o'clock, 5 miles, southwest bound. It's a Cessna 172 on approach to runway 24 at 2000. Report the traffic in sight. Now that was an awful lot, but we'll break it down. Your call sign, they're telling you there's traffic at your 3 o'clock. So at my 3 o'clock, all right, there's traffic. He's about 5 miles away. It's a Cessna 172. I know what they look like. And he's approaching runway 24 at 2,000 feet. Report traffic in sight. If you can't see the traffic, you can't see the traffic. You'll say looking for traffic. When you see the traffic, report traffic in sight. If you can't see it, you report back, looking for traffic. I don't have the traffic. Then he might give you an update. Okay, now he's at, your 2 o'clock at 3 miles. I see him. All right. Then they might give you something like, follow the Cessna 172 runway 24, clear for the option. So they're asking you to follow him. And you don't follow him as in you form up on his wing. You're following him along and make sure you get your spacing done correctly because you need him to get down and out of your way. That makes sense? So you might have to slow down. Anyway, after you completed 3 touch and goes or full stops with your WINGS VFR flight, it is then complete. ATC will notify you whether or not you've passed the flight, and they'll also give you update ratings on your tables. And then that's kind of the first flight. It's the first of 6 VFR flights, and the next one is going to head to a how does one pronounce it? As a Quonset state? That's going to be the VFR 2 flight. All right. But to recap on all of this, lads. The airspace, that's what we start off with. We need to understand our airspace. Have a look down through it. Class Alpha, not going to apply to us on VFR for the moment. IFR, we're always talking to ATC. Usually, right? VFR, we don't have to. Class Bravo is the busiest of the airspace in terms of airports. Class Charlie, also busy, but not as. Class Delta, less busy, but you still need to have, radio communication. Then you have Class Echo. All right? Golf is everywhere else. Echo and Golf, that's everywhere else. So you don't necessarily need to be talking to ATC in those areas. You only talk to ATC unless you want something like flight following or you're going to be entering someone's airspace. All right? I highly recommend using flight following because it's up to you to navigate, but they're going to give you traffic advisories. And it's an extra pair of eyes looking after you. Do you know what I mean? Quonset, kill a zebra, thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? So that's why it's the very same as having a radar service. They're not, you're not on a waypoint to waypoint flight. It's an extra pair of eyes. They're there to assist you, not to control you. That's the idea. So I would always recommend flight following when you can. Yeah, when you can. So hopefully next week we get some ATC up and running. I will feed back to SayIntentions. It kind of missed the ball a little bit there tonight. Unless, of course, we can kind of program it a little bit better. It can happen. If I put in a flight plan with them, it might work a little bit better. So let's see here. If we go over to here, look. We go to... if I go to the pilot's portal, that's kind of what it wants. So we'll give this a second, let it load in. Log in there now for a second, Murphy. Into the pilot portal, because what I can do, I can put in a flight plan. And let's see what it wants to do here. Let's just see, can I get it working that little bit better, right? Or, can we tune into... Let's tune the ATIS once again. 127, so just click on that.
E-300 feet. Arriving and departing runways 24, 15 advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back.
Nantucket ground, November 235 Romeo Mike. Request close traffic. Let's see what it says.
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33, left close traffic approved. Report midfield each time. Advise when ready to taxi.
Let's see what happens now. Runway 33 cleared left closed traffic and we are now ready to taxi 5 Romeo Mike. We'll try it one time now because it seems to be behaving. So maybe it was something to do with the weather. So we need to get our A up to 3-3. Where's 3-3 from here? Can we go that way?
892 Tango Oscar, pushback approved, contact tower when ready for taxi. Pushback approved, will contact tower when ready. Tornado 892 Tango Oscar.
Nantucket ground, 5 Romeo Mike on Echo, ready to taxi, runway 33. Simon, where are you going to see it?
5 Romeo Mike, taxi to runway 33 via Echo, Charlie.
Taxi runway 33 via Echo and Charlie, 5 Romeo Mike. Right, we'll do one very quick one, and let's see how it behaves. Right. Off the breaker. So, what does it want? 3-3? Easy now, Jemima. Let us go this way. Runway 4, clear for the option. Right? So it's going to give us runway 33. So let's see what we can do here with this one, alright? Same crack again. Get your altimeter set, your altitude set. We're going to put in 1,000 feet, well 1,100 let's say. And then our heading bug, we'll put it to the runway heading, yeah? Right now, Marv. What way have I gone? Okay, this...
225 Echo Mike, continue taxi on taxiway Lima, hold short of taxiway Bravo. Continuing on Lima, holding short
like, this really grinds my gears. This is a payware airport available
668 Nantucket ground taxi to parking via Bravo
on the marketplace.
Have a good day.
Is that completely wrong? Did they put a friggin' runway down?
Parking via Bravo Alpha, thank you, have a good day.
Bloody hell. So the Nantucket that you get in the marketplace is shagged as well. Because it's just added in its own runway. Stupid thing. Anyway, this isn't a runway, this is a taxiway. Jesus. Who's in charge of these things? Right, taxi Charlie. Yes. Yes. And let us hope. Is Harrison Ford visiting? Yeah, it's X-plane is about a centimetre away from being put on the screen here now, lads. What's it in default? Does anyone have this on default? There are 3 runways in Nantucket. So am I using old chart stuff? What's the
Bravo, clear to land runway
so this is December 2024. Yeah. I have 6, 1, 5, 2, 4, and 3, 3. So how is there an extra runway added in here? Where's the extra run? So they're classing taxiway Charlie as a runway? Is that real world? Did they add one in? So what we can do, we can actually go in and have a look at the actual satellite terrain. 2 runways, lads. Default is fine. Yeah, there's something not right there. And like, the sectionals only give us 2 as well. 2 runways. So someone somewhere made a bit of a uh-oh. Anyway, be grand. Hopefully now we won't give out to us, do you know what I mean? We'll do one more quick circuit. Yeah, it's not real world, yeah, it's nuts. Okay, this is runway 23. Nantucket Tower, November 235, Romeo Mike, holding short runway 33, ready for departure. Easy now.
November 235 Romeo. Mike, Nantucket Tower. Left closed traffic approved. Report midfield each time. Winds 210 at 13 gusting 20, runway 33, cleared for takeoff.
Left close traffic approved, report midfield. Runway 33, clear takeoff. 5 Romeo Mike. Right, no messing here now, lads. Notch flaps. He wants us to report midfield. We shall report midfield. Are we ready, friends? Up the hill. Let's see what happens. Runway 1230 was closed in 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chippy. Easy, Murph. Easy now. There is 70 knots. Oopsie daisy. Pause, ready to climb. Okay, so it's going to be a left closed traffic. Slightly different, but the same. Ups in. Easy now. Again, get up to around 500 feet and then hang a left. It's a decommissioned runway. But if it's decommissioned, it's not in use, you know what I mean? Left turn. So if they closed it in 2022, chances are that scenery is older than 2022, yeah?
Immediate takeoff, runway 33 Mooney, 8245
That works.
Delta.
Contact and departure, there's Echo Tango on your mic.
Alright, there's a first turn.
Tower, there's Echo Tango on your mic, reporting midfield, left downwind, runway 24.
Cessna Tango India Mike, runway 24 cleared for the option.
Easy now. It's listed on the website. It's a decommissioned runway. On whose website, Max? I level off here, Murph. Left turn. On the developer's website or Nantucket's? So we got to call this guy midfield. Straighten up. There's our airport. Watch your altitude. Taxiway Charlie is on the chart. Yeah, it is. Yeah, 100%. Easy now. Nantucket Tower, 5 Romeo Mike, midfield, runway 33, full stop. Easy. James,
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33 cleared to land.
Clear to land, runway 33, 5 Romeo Mike. Okay, so it's working better, so...
5 Romeo Mike, runway 33 cleared for the option. 5 Romeo Mike, runway 33 cleared to land.
Clear to land, runway 33, 5 Romeo Mike. It's somewhat redeemed itself. It was at the Nantucket Airport. On their website. Gotcha, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
N46560, fly the north shoreline and report third point. Cleared for right base entry to runway 24 when you report at third point.
Hanging a left. Hanging a left. Lower the gear.
Welcome to Nantucket. Contact ground on 132.5.
Welcome to Nantucket. I will say, right, this airport in the real world, this becomes super busy in the summer months. Like, you're talking one of the busiest airports in the whole region of friggin' Boston, like. Nuts, right? Apparently it was only ever a part-time runway. Most of the time it's used for taxiways. Okay. It's alright, lads. It'll be grand. We won't worry about these things. But what I do recommend this week especially, just start practicing your VFR pattern stuff and all the call-outs. If you manage to catch ATC online here, definitely give it a shot. Just try it. And it's only pattern work, so like you can't go too wrong. I mean, you're just flying a pattern around the runway. You know what I mean? So try and get as much practice in as you can. Like every single flight you do in VATSIM, you learn something. It's mad, but you actually genuinely do. Every single flight, you're going to learn something. You'll either learn it about the procedures, the aircraft, or yourself. You'll always learn something. Which is great. Great crack altogether. Right, runway 33. Easy now. You have it on live weather, but SayIntentions are used in runway 06, are they? Interesting. Hold the nose. Touchdown. Alright. We've a lot of runway here, so we'll ramble on. I learn I really know nothing. Yeah. Biden family routinely holidays out here. Yeah, they tend to go to Martha's Vineyard a lot, don't they? They tend to go to Martha's Vineyard. Or over that neck of the woods. Taxi straight on out of here. Then we'll hang a left. Doesn't matter which left.
Diamond Tree 71 Bravo, Charlie, hold short of runway 31, awaiting further instructions. Holding.
And Nantucket Tower, 5 room and Mike, clear the active. Request taxi to GA parking. Kobe Pete, your father was born and raised on Martha's Vineyard. No way, man. That's awesome. That's a place I'd love to go.
5 Romeo Mike, taxi to General Aviation parking via Echo Charlie. Have a great...
General Aviation via Echo Charlie, 5 Romeo Mike. Okay, a conversation needs to happen with Brian because there's just...
5 Romeo Mike, taxi to Channel Aviation via Echo Charlie 500 Mike.
It just needs a thing. Now, I suppose, like, what day is today? Today's the last day of March. Like, they're so close with their deployment of traffic injection and sequencing, so like, maybe some stuff crept in, who knows. But it's gas, because like, when I test flew this yesterday, I mean, it was flawless. But anyway, we won't worry about it. Give the feedback, we'll see what they say. But the important things taken away from this flight are, look over the airspace. Look over the voice procedure and practice practice flying VFR patterns at Nantucket, because it just gives you a chance to, you're kind of getting used to the airspace. And like, here's the thing you can do as well, right? Park her up here now, Betsy. Turn that off, turn that off, that off, that off, that off, that off, and them off. What I'd recommend doing is having a look at some of the other flights, right? And we'll have a quick look at these now before we go. Have a look at some of the other flights on the Wings program. That's the wrong button, Murph. Wings. So the second flight, it's a VFR flight, and they're using flight following. And this is what we're going to be having a look at, right? The second Wings flight, we're going to be flying somewhere. You're going to put the skills learned in the previous flight about the traffic pattern to work on a VFR flight from Nantucket over to Quonset State Airport. In the process, you're going to learn about obtaining flight following, selecting an appropriate VFR cruise altitude for your direction of flight, and also brush up on your traffic pattern knowledge. While VFR aircraft are always responsible for maintaining separation from other aircraft and terrain, ATC can assist with this using flight following. When departing Class C or B airports, VFR receive radar services similar to those provided during flight following. Alright, so this one here, it's going to be talking to 2 stations. That's where we're flying. There's actually quite a bit to here. A screenshot of New York sectional chart depicting one possible route between is shown. Ultimately, you may fly your route choosing your own. Okay, so let's have a quick look at this. So we're going to go from where... Nantucket over to KOQU. So let's have a quick look. Close that. Flight. New flight. KACK direct. Where is this now? Agree, I found it an inconsistent experience. Guess it's bleeding edge. Think so. I need to chat to them because like they need the feedback, and they will tell you that. KOQU. KOQU, KOQU. Okay, yeah, so look, that's what our flight is going to look like. Now, we want to be careful there because we're going to be opposing all sorts of stuff, yeah? So, we're going to be flying from Nantucket out of that airspace into another airspace. And then we're heading into... Anyone remember what the magenta was? Magenta? Class Charlie, yeah? So if you compare like with like, they want us to do something like this. So they want us to fly south of Newport and then in. All right. So they're recommending we fly south of Newport. Something like this. Something like that. And it's going to be a VFR flight. Yeah. Now think about it, lads. What's our altitude going to be? We're heading westbound. We're heading westbound. So what would be the perfect altitude heading west? What do you reckon? So it has to be even numbers. 4,500. Yeah, I think 45 is good. Now, this is where we need to just watch it. As we land here, we're going to be entering that class Charlie. Therefore, we need to ask them for permission before we even get next or near it. So we're going to give them a shout a little bit of the ways back. Yeah? Because you also have this class Delta in here. But your Delta... Well, I suppose once we're talking to Delta, they'll transition us into here because there is a teeny tiny little pocket. See this? See these lines here? So we do have a teeny tiny little pocket here of what we can and what we can't do. So this will be interesting. 500 feet, so we're saying class Golf Delta. Yeah. You can do that. But that's a little bit low. You could. But we'll probably fly up over the VOR at Martha's Vineyard. Because we're going to be entering the airspace. So we'll ask them and talk to them and see what happens. So that's going to be a nice flight. So 26 and 33 and 10. 70 nautical miles. That's what our flight is going to look like next week. And we will do this one live on the stream, right? But then after that, as I said, let's see how you get on. We can kind of race towards them, or you can do as many as you like. Entering class B, entering class B, exiting class B. VFR 5 cross country, and then a Boston class B helicopter route. Then we get into the IFR stuff. The IFR stuff is going to be a little bit different because there's going to be VOR navigation there. It's going to be shown as tech routes, it's particularly over Boston. And then we'll have SIDS, stars, non-precision, full ILS, RNAV stuff. And then it goes on and on and on from there. So there's a lot of stuff for the IFR. The VFR is just pretty much dip our toes in and get used to it. VFR flying on VATSIM is incredible, right? But the IFR stuff, it might seem very daunting, but do you know what? It's relatively straightforward. It's quite linear. You know, you're flying from here to there and you have a full flight path or plan. ATC will stick to that for the most part. It might divert you or give you, you know, go direct to this, go direct for that, right? With VFR, yeah, so your altitudes, if you're VFR, it's plus 500. Always 500. You're in between those stacks because you're VFR, yeah? So our flight here, I will do this flight once I have some ATC in Boston, right? There's nothing there tonight at the moment. The lads did say they'll have something there for next week, meaning I'll redo what I've done tonight, and when it comes to our flight next week, we'll be doing another Wings flight live. So hopefully a few guys can jump on as well. The fact that it's a Wings flight, lads, and I'm going to be streaming it anyway, well, hopefully it's going to be helping you out, right? So don't be afraid to give it a shot and see what happens. The likes of SayIntentions, I'm going to talk to Brian because that just wasn't ideal what we saw there tonight. But look, stuff happens. Let's see if they can figure it out and, you know, make it better. They need the feedback. And let's just see if we can get if they can fix it. I'll let you know. Okay, they've actually fixed that, and then we can use SayIntentions again. I might do something over the weekend or something just to kind of, you know, plaster it in there to make sure that it's done. But what we've covered so far tonight, with everything that we have in terms of the ground school document, which is live on our website. Where is this now? Oh yeah, TFRs. I forgot to do TFRs. Again, if you use something like SkyVector, yeah, see these red areas? These are your TFRs. So have a look with SkyVector looking at your TFRs, right? So see these? They'll tell you. Surface up to 18,000 feet. Immediate. So that's, well, where is that? That's Washington. So that's Trump or whatever, yeah? Temporary flight restrictions. We have stuff over here. There's the VIP up in, where's that? New York, neck of the woods. All right. We've loads of them down here. There's hazards down here. Right? Wonder what the hazards are. Is there information on the TFR? If we click on it, we can get some more information. FAA, so we have a hazard. Safe environment. Firefighting aircraft operations are in this area. Right? Isn't that cool the way you can click in and learn all about it? So that's down kind of Georgia neck of the woods-ish. There's more over here outside of Dallas. So we have a TF4. There's a VIP. So where's the VIP in? Dallas National Defense Airspace, TF4. All right. Can't go playing in that playground. Down here, there's a security operation down in... Where's that? San Angelo. Keystone Ranch. Security for 215 days. Is that George Bush's house? Jesus. Oh no, back in Dallas is George Bush. Gotcha, okay. California neck of the woods, we have stuff. There's air shows and stuff happening in Las Vegas. But have a look at all the different TFRs. You'll start picking them up fairly quick. Here's a baseball game. The Braves versus the Dodgers, is it? The requested reason... Oh, that didn't load. Back there. Try it again. No, didn't like that. There's security here. Like they'll tell you, baseball game, Braves at Dodgers, game begins at 0210 Zulu, effective for like, 3 hours. I think up this side of the woods, I think the fires are pretty much under control, aren't they? Or a lot of them are. Security. But you get the idea, right? Space operations. Check this out. Jesus. Up by Reno. Black Rock, Nevada, promote safe environment, rocket launching. Like this is, and like VATSIM will follow this stuff as well. It's going to be in the NOTAMs. VATSIM will follow all of this as well. So it's pretty cool, isn't it? You can find out what's going on in these areas because, like, put it this way, right? If we wanted to fly, I don't know, let's say we wanted to do some sightseeing over Washington or whatever. And next thing you're saying, well, balls, I can't. I have to go this way. Don't enter that area, or it just means when it comes to your flight planning, things are very, very different. Yeah. And again, you can see this white box around Washington. That means we have a TAC for Washington. And when we zoom in, we get a load more information. Yeah. So play around with SkyVector as well. Just get familiar to the place names and see, can you start reading? Where's my World VFR? See if you can start, pulling the information from all the airports. For example, let's just, I don't know, zoom in here. Cambridge Municipal. All right. Elevation is 799. There's runway lights. Longest runway is 4,300 feet. And its CTAF frequency is 123.075. Try and get used to this stuff. Elevation. Is there lighting? The longest runway length. That's how we kind of depict all of this. And then go with the colors. Hey, that's class Bravo. Oh, hey, that's class Charlie. And so on, right? Columbus International Control Tower on 132.7, ATIS 124.6, elevation is 815, longest runway is 1,100, and no CTAF. See that? There's no CTAF frequency. So it's controlled all the time. But if you're on VATSIM, that is one that you would jump onto Unicom with. Alright? So, lads, hopefully tonight was helpful. You learned maybe something, and yeah, the tech just needs to catch up a little bit. As I said, I'll have a chat with Brian and the lads of SayIntentions because they need the feedback. You know what I mean? So that's important. The wing stuff, have a blast. See what you can do. If you want to move far ahead, that's entirely up to you. All the information, all the notes, pretty much everything that you need is available in this ground school document until we get up towards the where's that gone? Until we get. Zoom out there, Murph. Until we get up to the IFR stuff. You know what I mean? So it's all available here. Have a read through it. Read back through the airspaces. If you're kind of stuck on any of the phraseology, I mean, that's the whole point of creating all of this. Like the whole thing. And there's bucket loads of information. All the information that I get, I scour the internet for it. I've read through the FAA pilot handbooks. I've read through various VATSIM courses. And I've spoken to real world controllers and pilots. So, you know, there's a fair bit of information. That's not to say you might find mistakes. Let me know if there are mistakes. You know, I need the feedback as well. But have a read over it, see how you get on. That document, it's available online. You can download it, you can read it in your own time. Or if you want a printable version, head on over to our Discord. There's a white background with black text over in our Discord, !Discord. That's where you can grab it. So that is your story. We're back to you tomorrow at 1900 Zulu. We're doing some trucking, where things just completely unwind and become a lot more easier. But I want to thank you all so very, very much indeed for tuning into tonight. And hopefully you learned something. And next week, we'll do more. Yes, we'll do lots and lots more. So until the next time, you guys take care. See you tomorrow.